Hey team, Yasin here, and in this training, we're going to be going over the first P in the 4P process, which is picking and studying and identifying your people. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into it, and let's go ahead and talk about the foundations of actually being able to pick your people or your dream client and all of the terminology around there. So what's going to happen here is that identifying your people, right, the people that you're going to serve really is going to be the first step in the SPICE process. And it's really about identifying the people that you want to be able to serve, you want to become the leader for, you want to be able to guide, you want to be able to inspire, right? And so when we talk about this framework here, right, and we talk about the 4P process, right, we're talking about the people here. And the reason why this is important is because until you identify who are the exact specific people that you actually want to help, it is going to be impossible for you to be able to identify, hey, what is the pain of those people? What is the paradise, aka what are the results and outcomes that those people actually want? What are the roadblocks that are in the way of that specific group of people, right? And then, only then are you going to be able to design a SPICE framework, a SPICE process, branding, messaging, a unique mechanism for that group of people as well. And so really when we talk about identifying and studying and really getting to know who are the people that you are going to serve, it really is the first step in the entire process. In addition to that, the other couple reasons why this is so important is because if you don't know who it is that you are going to be talking to, the question is, how are you going to talk to them, right? Without first identifying who your quote unquote people are, how are you actually going to be able to create a community for those type of people, right? What's going to happen is that you're going to learn the nurture strategy, and the first nurture strategy that we recommend, step number 1 throughout this entire process, if you're doing less than $20,000 or $100,000 a month, is the community strategy. So what's going to happen is right now you're in level 1 messaging, right? You're putting together all of your SPICE messaging and all of that kind of stuff, right? Using the 4P framework. Then you're going to go out and you're going to set up and kick off your community. You're then going to go ahead and create a valuable asset that you're going to be able to give away for free in exchange for people to join your community. You're going to go ahead and give that asset away in using paid and organic methods. And then what's going to happen is you're going to go ahead and get that flow of people who are joining your community, right? All of that is stemming from the people that you've identified. And then you're going to serve your community, book calls from your community, get your initial customers, then validate your offer. So that way you can go ahead and scale after that. And so all of this is going to stem from that first piece, which is identifying who are those people that you are going to serve. And a typical example for this is like, hey, if you're going to be speaking to, let's say, for example, new moms versus, let's say, independent career women, right? New moms, maybe people who are, living a different type of lifestyle, are going to be very different than independent career women who may not even want to have kids, right? The topics that they're going to be interested in versus when you're talking about fathers versus working professional men, right? And so completely different interests, topics, terms, languages, right? Completely different message resonance. And so if you don't know who those people are, how are you going to be able to speak their language? How are you going to be able to identify what their challenges and struggles are when each of those groups have different struggles and challenges? And so this is the reason why it's so important to understand who it is that you are showing up for, so that way that group of people can actually pay attention. Because if you try and talk to everybody, then you're going to be talking to nobody, okay? And so this is the reason why, even before we get into identifying, hey, what is the pain of the market, aka what are the obstacles and the roadblocks of the market, right? What is the paradise, aka the results and outcomes that the market is trying to go ahead and achieve? What is the process by which you're going to go ahead and take them from their current situation to their desired situation, from their pain over to their paradise? You can't do any of that unless you first identify who is the group that is in that pain, who is the group that is looking for that paradise, and then what is going to be the process for that specific who, so that way you know who it is that you are going to be serving, leading, inspiring, and guiding. And you can only do that once we actually have clarity on that, okay? And so this is going to be the process that you're going to be walking through, okay? This is going to be the entire framework that really you're going to be going through over the entire 4P process, starting off with people right now, okay? But this is the process that's going to allow you to become obsessed with your people, aka your dream customer. You're going to hear a lot of people who are experts in business, right? When you hear about Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Sam Walton and all these people who are like legends in the entrepreneurial space, right? In terms of building businesses and providing value to the marketplace, independent of what you think about their personal morality or all that kind of stuff. I'm talking about just from pure entrepreneurial business problem solving perspective, right? They talk about being customer obsessed. They talk about being customer driven, right? That's what we're talking about when you go through this entire process. When you pick your people, you understand their pain the way that we're going to talk about it. You understand their paradise the way that you're going to learn it. You're going to go ahead and build a process around that. This is what's going to allow you to be able to unlock that level of being obsessed with your customers. You're going to be able to understand your people just as well, if not better than they understand themselves once you go through this entire process. You're going to find that through this entire process, every single question that you have when it comes to your income, when it comes to your business, when it comes to you trying to solve problems within your business is going to come from within the minds of your people and your customers. All you need to do is be able to tap into that conversation, whether that be from a marketing perspective, a sales perspective, a product perspective. The answer is not in your mind. The answer is in the market and is in the minds of your potential prospects and your customers, okay? And so as you go through this entire process, you're going to learn that this is not a process of trying to convince people of anything. It's really just a matter of finding out, hey, what is it that the people already want, right? What is the paradise that they're already looking for? What is it that is their already existing pain? And then all you got to do is you just got to start to communicate in their language using their pain, their roadblocks, their paradise, and the results that they are looking for. And so that's really the process that you're going to be able to understand as you go through this entire 4P framework. Now, the other point that I want to go ahead and mention here is that sometimes some students end up getting a little bit confused with the terminology. And obviously, if you know anything about our methodology, we talk about how clarity of speech is clarity of thinking because words are just labeled thoughts. It's important to be extremely precise in the way that you are speaking. So let's go ahead and actually define a few terms here when we talk about dream client, people, niche, like what's going on here, right? And so what's going to happen here is that instead of using the word dream client, a lot of times you'll see people talk about dream client or dream customer, which is absolutely valid. But because of the reason that the first strategy that you're going to be learning is the community strategy in terms of nurturing leads and getting offer validation and all that kind of stuff, right? It's easier to think of a community as a group of similar people rather than just calling it, hey, this is my dream client or my dream customer or my customer avatar, right? So instead of calling it that, we're calling it people, but it's the same thing. I don't want you to be confused, okay? And so there are different terms and similar terms that are all referring to the exact same thing. Customer avatar, dream client, dream customer, your tribe, your niche, your niche, whatever way you want to call it, your ideal customer, your audience. All of these are terms that are interchangeable when referring to your dream client and your people, right? Sometimes you'll even hear us talk about it when we talk about your market, right? I'm going to add that one on here, right? We talk about your market. That's another term that we're referring to, and it's all meaning the exact same thing, okay? So I just wanted to go ahead and clarify the terms on that. Next up, inside of this section of the training, I want to go ahead and identify when is it actually important to niche down? When is it important to actually pick your people? When is it important for you to actually go ahead and get clarity around who your dream client is, what your market actually is, right? And so this is another point that a lot of newbie beginners kind of confuse all the time is because if you remember, back when we were going through certification, we talked about getting your practice clients, right? And during that time, when you were working on getting your practice clients, we talked about how it was the best not to niche down at that time, right? We talked about that then. And the reason for that being was because of the fact that it was better for you not to pick a group of people. It was better for you not to have a specific market in order to identify that. And the reason for that was because you were just looking to get practice in. You wanted to work with anyone and everyone, right? So when we talked about starting out, this was the diagram that we used back in certification when we talked about that training. It was, hey, you're just starting out. You want to go out there, and whether that be your practice clients, they're free or charity or paid. I'm not talking about that right now, right? I'm talking about just straight up practice clients. Whoever your first, let's say 3 to 5 clients are, that's who we refer to as your practice clients, okay? Regardless of if they were paid, not paid, free, charity, that I don't care about that right now. I'm talking about just your practice clients. In the beginning, when you're looking to get your feet wet, you're just looking to work with anyone and everyone that is willing to work with you, okay? But what we're talking about right now, and we're talking about when we talk about the 100K training, income and business training, right? What's happening here is that we're looking now to get to those consistent 10K months. We're looking now to scale to be able to get to $100,000 a year, right? And so what's going to happen is that in the beginning, it would have been silly for you to just reject working with certain types of people because, hey, you know what? They weren't my group of people, or they're not my market, or they're not my dream client, right? And so in the beginning, a lot of newbies and a lot of beginners, when they're starting out, they make that mistake to think, oh, I have to niche down. But in the beginning, when you're just starting out, sometimes for your first initial clients, it makes sense to just work with everyone, right? But then what's happening now, after you've gotten as much of that practice and you've gotten your feet wet and you're just starting out, what's happening now is that, hey, you're not just in that getting started phase anymore. You're in the 100K income and business training, right? And so now it's all about being able to get consistent new clients on a consistent, regular basis, right? And the only way to be able to get consistent clients on a regular basis is by having a specific type of person that you can help. Now, the question is, why is that the case, right? Coach Yassine, okay, I understand what you're saying. You're saying a bunch of words. Why is that the case? The reason why that's the case is because you want to think of this like a conveyor belt or a pipeline, okay, right? You got lead gen, lead nurture, sales, fulfillment, resale, and ascension, right? Kind of like a factory conveyor belt or a factory assembly line or something like that, right? You got marketing, sales, and product. And so what happens here is that if you want consistent income and consistent clients, then what's going to happen is that you need to be able to help the same type of person with the same type of pain through the same type of process get to the same paradise. And so we say a specific person with a specific pain get to a specific paradise through a specific process. And the reason why this is important is because if you work with everyone and their grandma, right? You don't specify the type of people that you want to work with, then what happens is that when it comes down to consistency in your income and your career, you're going to end up basically having to create something new every single time because you have different clients who are coming through. Let's say, for example, you're going to help somebody with, help them with type 2 diabetes. And then next day, you're going to help somebody who's a mom. And then the next day, you're going to help somebody who's a busy professional. And the next day, you're going to help somebody who's XYZ. Not only are you having to create custom assets, even though the fulfillment that we've walked you through to certification, yes, it could apply to a lot of people, but it can be even more valuable when it's specified and it helps a specific type of person, right? Because the struggles of a mom versus a career professional are going to be different. You might have to have like a, stress eating guide or a busy person guide, right? Or, a type 2 diabetes guide. And so it might be different when you're handling a different type of person through a different type of process and absolutely a different type of messaging that's going to come across as well. And so you need to make sure that if you want that consistency in that client flow that is coming, well, guess what we're going to have to do? We're going to have to specify. And this is the big kind of change and shift that I want you to make in your mind. And I think that a lot of newbies and beginners who are just getting started out, everybody on the internet and everybody's saying, hey, you got to niche down, whatever way you say it, right? But the thing is that you got to understand when that is the most appropriate. And we've gone ahead and laid that out for you. So that way you are not just going out there just like everybody else in the market who's confused. You, as one of our students, is absolutely clear on this and you understand exactly how this process works. And so that's exactly what we're talking about here when we say, hey, if you're trying to help different people with different pains through different processes to get a different paradise, then you can't have consistent, predictable, sustainable income that way, right? And so this is the reason why when it comes to getting consistent 100K years, right, it's now time to really hone in on a specific group of people that you're going to be able to help, right? And so once you get to that point and you have a specific group of people with a specific pain through a consistent process and get to a specific paradise, when you do that, what has happened now is that you've now productized, this is what we call it. We've now productized your company, your service, your business, your income. We've productized it so that way it is something that is scalable. We can now put it on the assembly line and just rinse and repeat. And the reason why this is important is because guess what? You might not want to do the coaching forever. You're going to want to be able to hire people. And so if you are having to come up with a unique solution every single time, you're not going to be able to have that consistency in your income. And absolutely, if you hired other people, well, they're not going to be able to keep up because there's just so many balls that are juggling in the air, right? And so when you have productized your business, you've now made it something that is consistent and repeatable. So that way your team can also be consistent and repeatable. Your income can be consistent and repeatable because it has all been productized. And so that way you can make sure that you are doing the consistent activities to be able to get you to where it is that you're looking to get to, right? And so this is the kind of diagram that we talk about when we talk about kind of the 4-step process on here, right? So step number 1 is the community strategy and offer validation. This step is what you're going to be using in order to get from $0 to $20,000 a month. You can actually use the community strategy to get up to $100,000 a month. We actually pushed the community strategy and got it up to $80,000 to $90,000 a month. We've seen it go around 100, 120. Some people even push it to $200,000 a month, which is a little bit excessive, but there are people in the marketplace who do so. But then after that point, once you get to about $20,000 a month, you're then going to switch over to the VSL strategy. And the VSL strategy is going to go ahead and help you get from $20,000 to $100,000 a month. Some people even push it all the way to $300,000 a month. And then you add in the setters, which is the setter strategy. That helps you go from $300,000 a month to $1 million a month. Some people even push that over to $2 million a month. month. And then you add in the break-even front-end strategy, and that helps you get to about $2 million, $3 million a month plus, right? And so this is a methodical sequence that has been outlined for a specific reason, because when you are doing the community strategy, you have to get that offer validation. And you're going to learn more about that throughout this entire strategy. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about this, but this is how it works. And the reason why all of this works is because of the fact that you have now productized your business so you can scale to those higher revenue levels. I hope that makes sense. Again, I'm not spending too much time on this and explaining this right now. There will be other trainings about this, but I do want to just go ahead and remind you of this. Okay. Now, the big thing when we talk about picking a group of people is I want to go ahead and talk to you about the typical beginner thought that a lot of people have when it comes to picking a group of people, right? The typical thought when we say, hey, it's time now to choose a specific group of people that you are going to work with, is the beginner says, hey, but Coach Yasin, I want to help everyone. Like literally what you guys have been able to provide me in certification and how much my life has changed, I feel like I can literally help anyone. Like what I have to offer, it can help anyone and everyone, like everybody. The world needs what it is that I'm able to offer, right? I don't want to just work with only a group of people. And when we hear that, we smile, right? We smile, we don't look down, because remember, we said that being a beginner and being a newbie is a beautiful thing. It's an amazing thing because you're still not experienced in kind of the pitfalls that are going to happen here, right? And it's okay to have that thought because guess what? You're just starting out and you have no idea exactly how this entire process is going to work. And so as long as you don't cross that line and become a limbic lallu who wears the failure uniform, hey, be a newbie. That's perfectly fine, right? And so what I'm going to do right now is I want to go ahead and answer this question. Is like, hey, can you go ahead and help anybody and everybody? Yes, I know you're excited and you want to help everybody and anybody, right? And you feel like, hey, the message that you have and the things that you've learned and the skills that you learned, and you want to go out there and just help everybody. Well, what's the answer to that question? Why is it actually important to actually go ahead and pick a specific group of people if you want to get to consistent income? The answer to that question is that when you've just started, right, which is the typical beginner thought that we just talked about. When you've just started, well, when you're a beginner, that's that point in your journey that you have the limited amount of skills and abilities and capabilities, right? It's at that point that beginners feel that they want to help everyone. But the question is, are you even good enough to help everyone, right? You might feel like you want to help everyone, but there's a difference between wanting and being able to, right? Because when you're a beginner and just starting out, you haven't yet even done the work required to be able to become the person who has both the skills and the identity to even help anyone and everyone. So even though, yes, the principles that you learned in certification and in your journey could apply to everyone in the entire world, what has to happen first is that you must acquire the skills and the identity to actually be good enough that everyone will even want to be able to listen to you. But in the beginning, because you're just a newbie and a beginner, right, who's just starting out, and that's okay. Remember, we said it's okay. That's perfectly fine, right? But you got to have the skills and the identity. And so if you wanted to be like someone, let's say, for example, like Tony Robbins, right? Let's say, for example, that was the example that we're talking about. If you wanted to become someone like that, the question you got to ask yourself is, hey, what are the skills and identity that I need to develop in order to get to that point? Now, I just want to clarify here. I give Tony Robbins as just an example, okay? If you wanted to be like someone who was like Tony Robbins, I think sometimes when I use these examples, unfortunately, there are some students who kind of think like we're talking about these individuals and these examples as if they're like godlike figures. No, like please understand what it is that I'm talking about here. I'm just using Tony Robbins as an example because I had to use someone as an example. It doesn't mean that Tony Robbins is some magical, mystical figure, okay? He just happens to be somebody who is very big on identity work and personal development, and a lot of people know him, and that's why he's a very good example. But the point being is that if you wanted to be able to work and help millions of people, right? The question is, why and how is he able to inspire millions of people and help, quote unquote, everyone, right? How come there are people who are like Tony Robbins who have the skills to be able to help everyone? How come they don't just pick a group of people the way that you're learning in this training, right? Hey, Coach Yasin, you're teaching us the wrong thing because Tony Robbins doesn't do what it is that you're talking about, right? Well, here, listen to me for a second here. The reason why is because Tony Robbins has the skills to be able to inspire entire crowds and people actually want to listen to him. And so the question is that what you are able to do right now as a newbie beginner, right? Do you already have the skills? Have you already done the reps that people like Tony Robbins, for example, have already done? Then if you do, by all means, go out there and help everyone, right? Which, for the record, let me just clarify here, even though Tony doesn't, quote unquote, pick a specific group of people, he technically is behind the scenes because he just has a little bit more of a broader messaging, which is, hey, people who are into personal development, XYZ, right? So it's not like Tony Robbins is literally working with everyone because Tony Robbins even has a specific market that he appeals to. But let's just say his market is broader than the market that you're going to be targeting, right? And then even then, the truth is that people like Tony Robbins Robbins have been at this game for decades with thousands of reps, right? Here is Tony Robbins back in like probably the 70s where he's leading a small group of people on here, right? And so he put in the reps in order to get to where he is. And so yes, you are going to have to start off the journey and get traction and momentum by picking a group of people. And if you don't, the truth is that you're never actually going to get your car rolling, right? Because it's impossible to steer a parked car. But once you have that momentum, right? Once you're driving at a good speed, then of course, remember, you can always change your group of people. You can always go wider. You can always pivot, right? But just because you're picking a group of people right now to help, serve, inspire, that does not mean that this is a death sentence that you have to work with those group of people for the rest of your life, okay? This group of people is just to get momentum, to start developing skills. And then once you have those skills, you can go ahead and broaden up your market. And so don't compare yourself to those who are in the market that you see who are already at the levels of scaling, right? When we talk about $1 million a month, $2 million a month, $3 million a month, right? There are people out there in the marketplace that right now your beliefs cannot even fathom what level of entrepreneurship and business and income that they are in. You are just in the very entry levels of this. And so as a beginner, you want to just focus on putting one foot in front of the other, and you need to focus on what is the most important, which is finding a specific group of people and identifying a specific pain, promising a specific paradise, specific results through a specific process, okay? And then once we get to some of those other scaling strategies, we talk about the VSL strategy, the setter strategy, the break-even front-end strategy. Those are going to take you to 100,000 a month, right? $1 million a month, 2 million a month. Those are the more advanced strategies that right now you don't even need to think about or worry about, okay? And so I know it is difficult, especially as a beginner, as you're getting started. You're like, yeah, but I want to help everyone, okay? So just make sure that you are asking us questions. Remember, it's okay to be a newbie beginner. Just don't end up becoming that limbic lalu, right? And so just go ahead and ask us questions if you have them, or you have any thoughts around like, hey, I'm thinking this, I'm thinking that. As you go through this process, it's okay to have those questions, and please make sure that you do go ahead and ask us those questions so we can help you understand exactly how this entire process works, okay? So that is going to be the foundations piece and the foundation section of the people training. Like I said, if you do have any questions about this section or anything that we discussed, or is there anything that resonated with you that was like, yeah, hurrah, Yasin, Coach Yasin, I love that part, right? Go ahead and let us know. You can go ahead and post that inside of the student community, or you can use the comment section down below to go ahead and let us know. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and continue on to the next section in terms of the people. And so I will catch you inside of that next section. Ladies and gentlemen, the party continues. Let's go ahead and get into this section of the training, which is picking your people. All right. So let's go ahead and talk about exactly the importance of picking your people. Now, the big thing I want to go ahead and clarify is that picking your people, right? Picking your customer avatar, picking your niche, picking your market, whatever way you want to call it, is that it's going to have different levels of importance at different levels of income and business, right? So if you're at under $20,000 a month, if you're at $100,000 a month, if you're at $1 million a month, if you're at $2 million a month, picking your niche and picking your market is going to have different importance levels. Okay. So obviously once you get to the 7-figure level, the 8-figure level, the 9-figure level, you're really trying to scale this, right? That's when really we talk about total addressable market. This is a little bit more of an advanced term, but total addressable market TAM matters significantly more when we talk about, 7, 8, 9 figures. But right now you're just trying to get to $100,000 a year. And so in that case, everything that we're about to talk about inside of this section, does it matter? Yes, but it doesn't matter as much. And I know it's a little bit vague and a little bit abstract in the way that I say that, but I want you to properly put into context what it is that we're talking about here, okay? You can't completely get it wrong and completely botch it in terms of the people that you pick and the group of people that you pick and your market that you pick in order to get to 100,000, but you can pretty much get a lot of it wrong and still get to 100,000, because especially when you're only trying to get to 6 figures, right? 6 figures a year, it's not that terrible. It's not that difficult to get to, even if you kind of mess up a lot of the picking the people part, okay? Now, I don't want you to misunderstand what I'm saying here, okay? But this is a very big, massive warning, because in just a second, we're going to go ahead and get into a little bit of the advanced pieces when we talk about picking a market and picking your people. And I just want to properly contextualize all of this, okay? So you have been warned. It is important, but take everything that I'm about to say and everything we're about to talk about with a grain of salt, because you want to make sure that you're prioritizing what is the most important for you, which is getting started, okay? And especially in the beginning when you don't yet have the skills to be able to properly influence, inspire, and lead large groups of people. That's the reason why you can kind of mess up a lot of what we're about to talk about and still get rocking and rolling here. But let's go ahead and talk a little bit about that in terms of picking your group of people. Okay, so let's talk about why picking your people matters. Now, again, you're going to hear me say this like a dead horse over and over and over again because I don't want there to be students, and it always happens. We record a training and there's some student who's like took things out of context and didn't understand the dang point that we're talking about. So I'm going to say the freaking warning again. Listen to me very carefully. Please, 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 okay? Again, warning. Everything that I'm about to talk to you right now, take it with a grain of salt, because if you are a newbie and a beginner who is doing less than 6 figures a year, right? You're not at 7 figures yet. You're not at 8 figures yet. You're not at 9 figures yet, right? You're not at $100,000 a month. You're not at $1 million a month, okay? You don't want to get too caught up in everything that I'm about to talk about, but it is good for you to know in terms of how business works in general, and then you need to contextualize what it is that we're about to say as it applies to your specific situation, okay? So with that warning in place, let's go ahead and talk about what it is that we're going to talk about right now, okay? As we grew in our own business and our own income, one of the most powerful lessons that we learned when it came to market selection came from a quote from Warren Buffett, okay? Warren Buffett, maybe you know him, maybe you don't know him, classical, iconic investor, right? He said that what boat you are in matters more than how hard you row. I'm going to repeat that one more time. What boat you are in matters far more than how hard you row. And what this quote does is it really gives perspective on the importance of market selection, given context. Remember, warning, given context, okay? And the businessman Alex Hormozi, he did a really good job in his book, $100 Million Offers, to really explain the importance of this. And we've gone ahead and reposted a snippet from his book, which kind of goes deeper into this topic, right? And the snippet of this is that a marketing professor asks his students, hey, if you were going to open a hot dog stand, right, and you could only have one advantage over your competitors, what would it be, students? And the students say, hey, location, quality, low prices, best taste, right? And so the students keep on going and they run out of answers. And then, the room falls silent. And then they wait for the professor to speak. And the professor smiles and he says, no, the biggest number one advantage that you can have over your competitors is a starving crowd. Because if you have a starving crowd, then nothing else matters. And so at the end of the day, if there is a ton of demand for the solution, for the result that you deliver, you can be mediocre at business, you can have a terrible offer, you can have no ability to persuade people and still make a lot of money. A classical example of this was the toilet paper shortage that happened at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, right? There was no offer, the price was outrageous, right? And there was no compelling sales pitch, there was no spice messaging, there was no any of that kind of stuff, right? But because the crowd was so big and so starving, rolls of toilet paper were going for more than $100, right? That is the value of a starving crowd. And so when we talk about the importance of a starving crowd, if you just ride the wave of the market and the momentum, then a lot of times you might not even be that good of an entrepreneur. You might not even be good at business that well. But because you're in the good market, just like Warren Buffett said, right, is that what boat you are in matters more than how hard you row, okay? And so what you're looking for is a market that is in desperate need of your abilities. And you need to find that, right? Because there is absolutely a market that fits with your abilities, right? And when you find it, you're going to be able to capitalize on that market and you're going to wonder, dang, why didn't I find this market sooner, right? And the reason why is because you got to go through that iteration cycle, right? We talk about hypothesis, real world testing. We're going to have actually later on inside of this training, our own story. And we're going to walk you through how we ended up coming up with our market. And you're going to see it's absolutely an iteration. And then once it clicks, it's like, dang, I found it, right? However, the big thing here is that you don't want to romanticize about your audience, right? You want to serve the people that are able to and capable to pay for your services and what you are worth based on the value that you are providing. Okay, and so you just want to remember that picking a market, just like everything else in life, is our choice. And so you have the opportunity, you have the privilege to be able to actually pick what market you want to be able to go after. And that's exactly what we're talking about inside of this entire section. Okay, now, what else when it comes to picking a market? What I want to talk to you next about is the 4 ideal indicators that are very good barometer metrics when it comes to actually picking a market that are going to be very good goalposts or kind of benchmarks for you to be able to understand, okay? And so this is again coming from $100 Million Offers. Hormozi does an awesome job when he talks about this, right? And so we've gone ahead and recreated that framework in our own language here. But what basically he's talking about here is that you got to have 4 primary indicators, okay? In an ideal world, you would go ahead and have 4 primary indicators. Number 1 is massive pain. Number 2 is purchasing power. Number 3 is easy to target. And number 4 is quantity of the population as well as growing, okay? Now, before I go ahead and explain each of these four and how you can use these as benchmarks to be able to determine and pick a market and be able to pick the people that you're going to go after, I want to go ahead and remind you of the warning again and again and again and again. How much, Mr. or Mrs. Student who is listening to me right now, I know you're listening to me right now. My question to you, my friend, is how much of what it is that we are about to talk about applies if you're just trying to get to $100,000 a year? The answer to that question is, it's good to know, but you don't want to get stuck with this, okay? Remember, your number one priority as a beginner is to get into momentum and take massive action, period. And so yes, in an ideal world, you are going to be able to hit on all four of the points that we're about to talk about. But for you as a beginner, maybe 90% of the things are not going to be ideal. But guess what? When you're a beginner, when you're just starting out, none of that matters because you're just going to literally ram your head into the wall with massive action and you're going to literally demolish any obstacle that comes in your way, because as a beginner, that is the number one thing that beginners struggle with, is that they just have so many ideas and they want to get distracted and they can't focus for too long, right? That's what you want to demolish. You want to be so focused that even though things are not ideal, because of your sheer tenacity and relentlessness, you made it work. That is your number one priority and objective as a beginner. It's not about trying to play smart as a beginner. Now, do you want to play smart? Of course. That's not what we're saying. Don't misunderstand and take out of context what we're saying. You want to work hard and you want to work smart. But what I'm telling you is that you want to lean as a beginner towards working hard, because most beginners struggle with that character trait of the resilience and the grit. And then as you get that hard work in place, then you can start to work a lot smarter, right? So a lot of people are like, hey, should I work harder or should I work smarter? Well, why not both? But the harder of the two is being able to work in your work ethic and being able to focus. And then in that container of focus, you are now working smart. But if you're literally only able to focus for like 30 minutes a day or an hour a day, and then you get distracted and you get worried and you get, scared and you get nervous and you get emotional and you can't get yourself to actually do the work, well, it doesn't matter if you're able to work smart because you're only working 30 minutes a day, right? Even at 30 minutes, you're still distracted. And so you want to be able to work on your work capacity, your work ethic. And then as that grows, you can then start to work smarter and smarter and smarter within that, okay? And so that's what I want to emphasize for you, especially as you're a beginner and a newbie starting this journey out, is that you don't want to be waiting around for things to be ideal in order for you to take action. Okay? So can you still get to $100,000 even without the four things that we're about to talk about? Yes. Absolutely. This is not a black or white concept that you have to have all four, or it's not going to work, or XYZ, or any of the other gazillion and million two ways that beginners try and overcomplicate things, okay? So don't do that. Now, having said that, and with that massive warning, I told you I was going to beat the dead horse over and over and over again when it came to the warning. Let's go ahead and talk about the four indicators that are going to be helpful for you when you're going through this entire process, okay? Number one is pain. Okay. Ideally, you want to make sure that the people that you are working with not just want what it is that you are going to be providing, the solution that you're going to be providing, but they need what it is that you are offering, right? And when we say need, we're talking about massive pain that they are in, right? And now massive pain could be in any one of the frustrations in life, right? It could be that, hey, being broke is painful. Having a bad marriage is painful, right? Waiting in line at the grocery store is painful, right? Having back pain is painful, right? Having an ugly smile is painful, right? And so this is kind of a snippet from the $100 Million Offers book, right? But what we're talking about here is being overweight is painful, right? We talk about the four areas of wellness, right? Health, wealth, relationships, connection to something greater. Within each of those, there are a gazillion and two different problems that somebody could face that is massively painful, right? Humans end up suffering a lot. And so what that means is that all of those four areas of life have massive amounts of endless opportunity for all of the frustrations and all of the problems and all of the difficulties and all of the roadblocks that humans have, that entrepreneurs, and that is the beautiful thing about being an entrepreneur, is that we are problem solvers. That is the beautiful thing about being a remote wellness practitioner, is that through the coaching that we provide, we are able to solve problems for other people. We are able to bridge the gap between somebody's current self and their desired self. And so the degree of pain that somebody is in is going to be proportional to the amount that you are going to be able to charge, okay? And so what happens is that what you want is that the group of people, when they hear about the solution that it is that you provide, right? When they hear about the paradise that you want to take them from, you want to take them from their pain over to their paradise, and what life is going to look like for them without that pain, what should happen is that they should be drawn to your solution. They should be drawn and pulled over to your process. That is what you want in an ideal solution, right? There's a saying in sales where they say that the pain is the pitch, which is that if you can articulate the pain a prospect is feeling accurately enough, which is what's going to happen as you go through this process, right? Right now you're in the people, right? You're going to go identify and select your people, but we're going to walk you through the process of identifying that pain, identifying that paradise. When you're able to do that properly, what's going to happen is that people are going to buy what it is that you are offering because you are targeting the pain. You are solving the pain that they are in. And so if you don't do this, ideally, it's going to be much more difficult to be able to market and to be able to have a sustainable solution and be able to charge for that sustainable solution because of the fact that you're not solving a painful enough problem, right? If you're not solving enough painful enough problem, then it's going to be very difficult for you to be able to get traction within that market. Beautiful. So that is the first of the ideal indicators when we talk about identifying and picking a market, right? The second one is purchasing power, okay? And purchasing power refers to whether or not the market that you identify, the market that you're going to go into, the dream customer, the dream client, right? The people that you're going to be serving, whether or not they actually have the power to even purchase what it is that you are offering, right? We once had a student who one time wanted to help teenagers get better grades, and he was targeting and marketing to teenagers. Well, the problem with that is that teenagers don't have any money, right? Now, if you're marketing to the parents, that might have been a little bit of a different story, right? Alex actually had a similar story of a friend of his who was really, really good. He had an amazing process for helping people who were unemployed actually improve their resumes and get more job interviews, right? Alex's friend was great at it, right? He had a group of people who had a lot of pain, and he had an amazing process to be able to help them, right? But the issue with this was that as much as he tried, he couldn't get the people to actually pay for his services. And the reason for that was because, guess what? No brainer. All the people were unemployed. They had no income. And so even though that group of people had massive pain, they were pretty easy to target, right? You could actually find them who are the unemployed people. There's actually lists out there for them, right? And there was enough of them, right? There was enough quantity and they were growing, right? There's new people all the time. He had a difficult time actually getting that market to work for him, right? Because of the fact that they were unable to actually afford the program and the services that he was charging for. And so you want to make sure that the people that you are targeting have the money, or at least have access to the money that they need in order to be able to purchase your product or service at the prices that are going to allow it to be able to be worth your time. Now, could you literally discount your prices to make it dirt cheap? Well, yeah, but then it wouldn't be worth your time, or you wouldn't be able to scale, or you wouldn't be able to hire, and you wouldn't be able to do any of that kind of stuff, right? So it's not a matter of hey, I don't want to charge people. Sometimes, I don't know what it is. Sometimes some students have some really jacked up money beliefs, and they're like, hey, but I don't want to charge people, or I think charging people is bad. Well, here's the thing. You got to fix your beliefs around this, because every single product that you have ever purchased in your life that has changed your life, you have purchased it, right? People who pay attention. And so if you are not willing to be able to actually charge for your products and services, how in the world do you plan on going out there and getting the message to the masses, right? The only way that you're going to be able to even afford having and hiring staff, the only way that you're going to be able to even afford coaches, the only way that you're even going to be able to afford being able to get that message out there and impact hundreds and millions of people's lives is if you actually have some sort of fuel, right? Money is the fuel. Money is not the goal. I think a lot of people, as maybe they have some messed up money beliefs around this, is that they think, money is the goal, so that makes me selfish and I don't want to be money oriented. No, you misunderstand this. Money is the fuel by which it takes you over to the mission. Money is not the objective. Money is not the goal. It is the fuel. Just like a car needs gasoline, right? A car doesn't go out there and it's hey, my objective today is to go out there and get gasoline. No, the objective is to fuel the car in order to get to a place. And that place is a place of income, impact, and freedom, and to be able to help as many people as possible. Okay, so that's what we're talking about when we talk about purchasing power. And that is the second factor that we're talking about here. The third ideal indicator is being easy to target. Okay, and so even if you do have a perfect market that has the pain, they have the purchasing power, they are growing. But here's the thing, if you have no way to actually find that group of people, then it's going to be very hard to actually be successful with this. Now, again, here's the warning, here's the caveat. Can you be successful with a group of people that is super niche down, that is harder to find? Yes, at smaller, if you're trying to get to 6 figures, maybe if you're trying to get to 7 figures, or you're trying to get to 100,000, sure, you can be. But in an ideal world, right, if you get to choose, why not choose the lowest hanging fruit? In an ideal world, you would choose a market that is easy to target. Why not go after the lowest hanging fruit, right? And so what you want to do is you want to find a group of people who are somewhat, there's associations that they belong to. There's social media groups that they're in, right? There's mailing lists that they have joined that they kind of congregate in one place. There's influencers and organizations that they follow, right? There's channels that they watch, right? They are congregating in a place so that way you can actually find them. But if they're like not congregating actually in a place, right? There's not a lot of them in one place, then it's going to be very hard to actually be able to market to them. It's going to be very hard to be able to pull and fish from that pond, right? And so what you're looking for is you want to have your potential customers gathered in a place so that way you can actually market to them. Otherwise, you don't really have a market that you can provide a marketing message to, because what you're doing is you're trying to find a needle in a haystack because it's not easy to target them. And so again, in an ideal world, if you can control it, you want to try and make it easier for yourself, okay? So that is that ideal indicator. And then finally, we have the fourth ideal indicator, which is the quantity of the amount of people and whether or not they are growing in size or not, right? So when a market, a group of people has enough people, right, population, quantity, and is growing, which is ideal, then everything ends up moving a lot faster and a lot easier, okay? Now, some people misunderstand this and they think, my market has to be growing at like some breakneck speed. No, this is not the case, okay? Even if your market, let's say, is just growing at a normal pace, right? It's just normal growth. Even that is fine. But the big thing that you want to avoid is you want to avoid having a group of people that you've picked, a market that you've picked that is shrinking, right? You don't want to be out there with your group of people that you want to help is like people who own newspaper companies, right? Or people who are interested in like renting DVDs, or people who are like, interested in fax machines. Because guess what? That stuff is shrinking. That is a shrinking market, right? You don't want people who are interested in like photo film printing, because the amount of people who are interested in photo film printing ever since we have smartphones is decreasing by the second, okay? And so what you want is you want to have a group of people that is at least at a normal level of growth. Otherwise, it's going to be a lot more difficult because you're trying to fight the market, and the market is actively working against you in order to be successful in when you are picking your market. Now, having said that, right, we've now talked about the 4 ideal indicators when it comes to actually picking a market and picking a group of people, right? Now, here's what's going to end up happening. Is that some students, when they hear all of this, is that they're going to say, hey, does the group of people that I pick have to follow all 4? Does it have to? Well, here's the thing. Remember, in business and in marketing and in life in general, there are always exceptions. And so in the end, you can do whatever it is that you want to do. And in the end, there's going to always be exceptions to this. But as a beginner, our recommendation is to, yes, understand this topic of total addressable market and the 4 ideal indicators and all this kind of stuff, but do not get romantic about the group of people that you want to serve, right? Understand that there are problems that you are out there solving, and you don't want to get romantic about them, okay? Because in business, you have choices, and if you must choose, you might as well choose the things that are going to make things easier for yourself, right? This is a business and logical decision, and then you can go ahead and justify it with emotions later on, and we'll show you how to be able to do that. Now, having said that, the question is, all right, Coach Yasin, so because picking my market matters, what you're telling me, Coach Yasin, is that I should stress over it and become paralyzed and like not do anything else for the next 12 months until I find and pick the perfect market. Is that right, Yasin? Facepalm. Just because we are emphasizing the importance of picking a market, again, does not mean that you should take this out of context and misunderstand the point, okay? Because you are getting started, do not major in the minors, okay? What you want to do is you want to pick an okay market, a good market, a relatively okay market that is going to get you into momentum. You do not want to get paralyzed with this decision, especially if you have little to no income coming into your remote wellness practice, you have little to no active students or clients. You might as well pick a market that is going to be the lowest hanging fruit. You might as well go ahead and get traction. You might as well develop your skills in your identity. And then the better you get, guess what's going to happen? Once you've actually started getting momentum in that car, you're going to be able to go ahead and pivot. But it's impossible to steer a parked car. And so we would urge you not to be a failure uniform limbic lulu. What you want to do is you want to pick a market, and we're going to walk you through this step by step, that's going to allow you to be able to get momentum and traction, right? The lowest hanging fruit, to be able to get that ball rolling. And then that way you can go ahead and pivot later, right? We've talked about the iteration cycle, right? You start off with a hypothesis, you go ahead and implement that with real world data, you get a version 2, right? Then you go real world data, you get a version 3, real world data, you get a version 4. That's the process, right? You want to start with something, and then you want to get it going from there. Don't worry, this is not a death sentence. It's not a life sentence that you're going to have to work with this specific group of people forever, okay? So you're going to hear me repeat this warning like a gazillion and 2 times. Like some of you students who get what I'm saying are going to get tired of what it is that I say over and over again. You're like, dang, Coach Yasin, you're so freaking repetitive. Yes, I'm repetitive because of the fact that there are students who need to hear this message a gazillion and 2 times, because of the fact that we need to make sure that every student is on the same page around this topic. I hope that is absolutely clear, okay? And so that has been this specific section inside of this training when we talk about picking your people, picking your market, what are the indicators and the ideal indicators and how that works, and then the big warnings that we've talked about that as well. If you have any questions about this, remember, it's okay to have questions. You might be a beginner, you might be a newbie, you're starting out. That is perfectly fine. It's an exciting time for you. It might be a little bit of a scary time for you, but it's an exciting time nonetheless. And so if you have questions or comments about this, right? If there's something that really resonated with you on this, right? If you have any thoughts and you're like, Coach Yasin, I really, really like what you said about here, okay? Let us know inside of the student community and use the comment section down below, so that way you can go ahead and give us that feedback or ask your questions or whatever it might be. And so this has been this specific section about picking your people. With that being said, I will catch you inside of the next section. All right, team, the party continues. Let's go ahead and get into the tactical, which is the steps to picking and studying your people. So what's going to happen is that in the next few sections for this training, we're going to go ahead and get through the practical and tactical steps of actually picking and studying your people, okay? So that way later on inside of this entire 100K mastermind and 100K income and training that you're going through, that way later on you will be able to go ahead and go through the pain, figure out the paradise, as well as all of the process when we talk about SPICE frameworks and unique mechanisms for this group of people, okay? So what's going to happen is that the next couple sections inside of this training are going to go ahead and walk you through the step-by-step of picking and studying your people. So step number 1 is going to be coming up with a people hypothesis, okay? Step number 2 is going to be creating your marketplace swipe file. Step number 3 is going to be studying that marketplace, right? People research. And then step number 4 is going to be repeating those steps until you have your market selected, okay? So that is going to be the 4-step process that we're going to go ahead and get into. If you do have any questions about this specific section or anything that we have discussed so far, please make sure you go ahead and let us know inside of the student community or use the comment section down below. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the very first step. All right, let's keep this party and momentum going. Step number 1, which is your people hypothesis. So what we're going to go ahead and do is to kickstart this process. We're going to go ahead and start off with a hypothesis of the people that you want to be able to help. Now, remember, we don't want to shortcut this process, okay? Right now, we don't want to get busy with trying to think like, okay, hey, this is the type of people that I want to help them with this problem because they have this pain point with this process. No, remember, right now, we're focusing on only the group of people. That's it. Only the group of people. If you can kind of focus your mind for just a second, is we're only making a general hypothesis of the kind of people that we want to help. In general, okay? It doesn't matter. You can make it very, very general. It's going to be a very, very overview. Don't get stuck with like the tactical of like, oh, but I want to help fathers who have this pain point get to this paradise with this process. Those are going to be different trainings completely, okay? What you want to remember right now is that we're just making a general hypothesis of the people. That is step number 1, okay? Just a general hypothesis, okay? So let's go ahead and talk about how to actually do this step, right? How do you actually do a brain dump hypothesis? Okay, step number 1, what you're going to do is you're going to open up a new document, okay? You're going to go ahead and create a new document somewhere, somehow, okay? Whether you decide to use ClickUp or you decide to use Google Documents or you decide to use pen and paper or you decide to use like, write on your wall or you decide to use a whiteboard, like it doesn't matter what medium that you use, okay? Don't get married or romanticized about the tool that you're using. It's just a tool, but you want to go ahead and get prepared to actually journal and write out your thoughts. Again, don't get hung up on this idea of journaling because some people think about this connotation of journaling means like I got to journal and I had bad experiences with journaling. No, we're just talking about externally processing, okay? This is the first step. This is the way that winners study, think, and process data and information. Step number 2 is we're now going to start to explore. We're going to brain dump, okay? Just a very general idea of the prompts, okay? Just kind of generally think about, okay, you know what is the type of person that I want to help in terms of like, what might they identify with? Like, I am a small business owner. I am an independent mother. I am a, Christian father. I am a whatever. Doesn't matter, right? What's their general maybe age range? Maybe think about what they do for a living. Maybe think about if they have kids. Maybe think about if they have pets, right? What are some of the other demographics, right? Maybe think about what they spend their money on. Again, these are just prompts. Do not get hung up. It's not about these specific questions. It's not like, hey, I got to find out if they actually have pets or not. Remember, this may or may not apply to your hypothesis, right? You're just generally thinking about these things, okay? You're just making a general brain dump of the general type of person that you want to be able to help in this step number 1. And then when we get over to step number 2, step number 3, and step number 4, you're going to be further refining this and getting even more specific on this. But we just need a hypothesis. We need some sort of direction in order to get started in. And again, remember, these are just prompts, okay? There might be other prompts that might apply here, but all you're trying to do is just getting a general direction. Hey, I want to be able to help independent mothers who are in this age range, who do this for a profession, who might right? Just dumping, okay? And then step number 3 is that you might want to go ahead and then clean and summarize, right? Once you've actually externally processed, right, on the tool, whether that be the journal, by hand, right? However you're thinking about this, you're just brain dumping from your own head right now in terms of exploring who that person might be, okay? And again, remember, you can go ahead and utilize the tool we like to use as of these days. We change it all the time. Sometimes we use Google Documents. Sometimes we use ClickUp. There is a free version on ClickUp that you can go in there and kind of play around with subpages. That's the reason why we like ClickUp documents these days, because they do have this new feature that is subpages that allows you to kind of create subpages underneath documents. So that way it's all in one page. Totally up to you, whatever way you decide to do it. That is going to be where you can just go ahead and create a page on there that would say, hey, here is my brain dump hypothesis of the type of people, okay? Literally, that is it. It's as simple as that. You're just making a people hypothesis. That's step number 1. Very, very easy, very, very simple. And then here in step number 2, we're going to go ahead and clarify this, because I promise you the answer is going to get even more and more clear, okay? So that is step number 1, which is your people hypothesis. Let us know if you have any questions, if you're maybe overcomplicating this, if you're like, hey, am I on the right track? Have I gotten too specific on this? Am I overthinking this? Let us know. You can go ahead and use the comment section down below that is going to add a tag in the student community for this specific training, so we know that your question was for this specific training. And so go ahead and let us know if you have any questions. And then with that being said, we're going to go ahead and continue on to step number 2. All right, team, step number 2, which is going to be creating your marketplace swipe file. Okay, so now that we have the brain dump hypothesis, it's just a general brain dump of the type of person that we might want to help. Remember, this is just a might, it's just a hypothesis, right? That we might want to serve. What we're now going to go ahead and do is we're now going to go ahead and look at the marketplace, and we're going to go ahead and create what is called a swipe file. Now, you may or may not remember this. Hopefully you do. If not, no problem. We'll go ahead and remind you of this, is that we've talked about the importance of a swipe file and studying the marketplace and studying other people's marketing, right? We talked about how there's the tactics, but the tactics are not going to work unless you are doing the study, that you have your spice, and you have the identity, the driver that can actually drive this marketing machine, right? And one of the pieces of the study was having a swipe file, right? We talked about that. And so your swipe file is really how you go out there and study the marketplace, okay? A swipe file is your own personal collection of a list of brands, competitors, ads, landing pages, offers, price points, products, copy, messaging, ideas, Instagram pages, like, places where people are congregating, YouTube channels, and all of the other kind of like marketing assets that you have seen in the marketplace. Your swipe file is kind of like your portal, your glasses of looking at the marketplace and seeing what is going on, right? Your swipe file is how you study the marketplace for anything and everything. Whenever you have a question when it comes to marketing, whenever you have a question in terms of like how you should position yourself in the market, the very first question you want to ask yourself is, hey, what is happening in the marketplace, okay? And your swipe file allows you that lens to be able to see what is happening in the marketplace. I promise you, a lot of beginners and newbies, when you're just getting into a business and you're just getting into entrepreneurship, a lot of people don't understand this concept that a lot of the answers that you're looking for are actually already going to be staring you right in the face when you look at the marketplace, right? And so when you're asking yourself, hey, who should be the people that I target? What should be the pain that they have? What is the paradise that they're looking for, right? How is the unique mechanism or the process that I want to design for this? Well, guess what? All of those answers are already in the marketplace. And so the tool that you're going to be utilizing in order to be able to look at the marketplace is this swipe file, is this collection of all of the homework, all of the dang work that you have done in order to actually know who else is in the marketplace, right? And what you're going to see as a theme throughout this entire marketing and spice department is that pretty much Every single decision that we make when it comes to marketing comes when we look at the marketplace and we look at what is actually going on. Now, the question you might have is, why is that the case? Why is this actually important, right? Especially for those who are beginners in entrepreneurship, they really have a hard time believing me, right? Like they want to come on these coaching calls, and unfortunately, a lot of them want to become limbic lalus who wear the failure uniform and just try to like come up in their own head with the answers of who are the people that they should target and what their pain points are and what their struggles are and what their process should be. Like they want to come up with that solution in their head. And I'm telling you, the answer isn't in your head. It's going to come by you actually doing the dang work, okay? Very rarely is the answer to market positioning and marketing and all of those other answers, right? Market messaging is going to come because of the fact that you had a creative orgasm and all of a sudden you had this amazing idea. Let me tell you why. The reason is because even though you might have an amazing idea may not actually be amazing if everybody else in the marketplace is already doing it. And so if marketing and if business was happening in a vacuum, in isolation, right, where you were the only person that was exposed to your prospects, to those people who are potential customers, then yes, then your amazing idea would be phenomenal. But here's the thing, marketing and business really in general is never about you. It's all about what the market wants. And so even though you might think you have an amazing idea, well, how the heck do you know if your idea is amazing? How the heck do you know if the pain that you solve is actually accurate? How do you know if the paradise that you're taking your potential customers to is actually accurate? How do you know that the people that you want to target actually want what it is that you want if you're not looking at the market? And so because you're not selling to yourself, you're selling to the market. That's why you always need to know what is happening in the market. And so if you come on a coaching call, if you ask for help and you haven't done the dang work, you haven't done the homework necessary to actually even have a swipe file, you haven't done the homework to know who are all of the other competitors and other players in the marketplace. Because remember, when people are making a decision to work with you, they are making a decision when they work with you. They're saying, hey, you are the one that I want to work with compared to everybody else in the market. And so if you don't know what else is in the market, how the heck are you actually going to differentiate yourself? How the heck are you actually going to make sure that your marketing message is at least on par with everybody else in the marketplace, right? And so the second reason is because marketing doesn't happen in isolation, right? When you are in the market doing marketing, you are always competing based on everybody else that is doing marketing, okay? And so unless you actually look at the current market landscape, right? Unless you actually look at what is currently happening in the marketplace, you'll never actually be able to see who it is that you could be targeting. You'll never actually know who are the groups of people who are in the market. And I think the reason why a lot of newbie beginners struggle with this, especially in the online marketing space, is because they don't have a real world example, right? When we talk about online business and the internet space, it kind of gets very abstract and very vague. And in one of the later trainings that you're going to see when we talk about unique mechanism, we give a metaphor of like a bazaar or like a flea market, right? I want you to put yourself in a very real world scenario, right? Imagine you are a flea market, store owner, and there are like hundreds of other store owners who are on that same street that are competing against you, right? That is the marketplace. That's why we call it. It's the flea market. It's the bazaar. That is the marketplace, okay? And so unless you actually take your head out of your store, right? And you look up and down the street and you actually look at, hey, what is the rest of the market doing? Where are the people congregating? Where are the people hanging out? What are the people interested in? Who are the dang people who are even in the marketplace? If you don't actually know and you're just in your store, right? You just shut the blinds, you shut the door and you're like, okay, I'm going to come up with this crazy, amazing idea of, what the pain points are of the market, what the paradise of the market is, what the process is that they're going to be interested in, who the group of people are that are outside of my store. Unless you actually just look outside of your store, you're never actually going to know. And so you might think that you want to target X group of people, but unless you actually look at the market and who the people in the actual market are, who are the other players and the competitors in the marketplace, maybe the people that you want to target, maybe they're not even there. Maybe they're not even purchasing. Maybe they're not even congregating in some place, right? And so what ends up happening is that when you look at the marketplace, you might end up tweaking or adjusting who you are serving based off of what you are seeing in the market. And not just maybe, I'm telling you 100%, you will 100% do that, right? And so without actually looking at the market, you can't expect to actually have a unique idea that's going to work or, have a unique group of people that you're going to target because you got to know what is happening with the market. So marketing does not happen or exist in isolation. Prospects are being bombarded by ads and other competitors and other players all day long. They're making decisions of who they want to work with. And so unless you actually look at the marketplace using your swipe file the way that you're going to learn about it, and you actively do it, right? You do the dang work. I cannot tell you how many times, yes, we've talked to hundreds and thousands of students about putting a swipe file together, but very few students, unfortunately, actually end up putting in the dang work and doing it. And that's the reason why the winners are always a minority, and the people who are the limbic lalus, who wear the filler uniform, are so many of them out there, right? And I know why you are going to be different, because you're going to be a winner and you're going to actually follow the instruction in this because you're an amazing student. So let's talk about how to actually create a marketplace swipe file. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to open up a new document. You're going to open up a new folder. You're going to open up something out there, okay? Whatever tool you use for your swipe file is irrelevant. It does not matter. Some people like to do it in Google Sheets. Some people like to do it in Excel. Some people like to do it in ClickUp. Some people like to do it in Google Documents. Some people like to do it in Apple Notes. Some people like to do it. Pen and paper is a little bit hard. I'll give you that one. Like on a lot of other kind of activities that we do, pen and paper could work. But in this case, pen and paper is a little bit more difficult, because what you're going to be doing is you're going to be collecting assets that are out on the internet. Okay. So again, there are unlimited ways to do this. Regardless of how you do this, it doesn't really matter. But what you want to do is you want to basically have a place where you can now go ahead and actually write things down and actually collect links and images and screenshots and all of that kind of stuff, okay? Because I'm going to walk you through what those next steps look like in just a second. Now, we use ClickUp, okay? We just recently started using ClickUp. We actually used to use Google Documents, then we actually used like a Telegram group at one point for our swipe file, and then we eventually moved over to ClickUp now, okay? Because ClickUp recently came up with this new feature that has like subpages. I believe ClickUp is free for the entry-level account, so you can use ClickUp Documents if you would like. Again, it does not matter. Sometimes some students were like, we mentioned something, they're like, oh, I have to use ClickUp and No, you can do whatever the heck you want to do, but just get the job done in some way, shape, or form, okay? That's my warning on that. That's number one. Create a document somewhere so you can go ahead and actually do the rest of this activity. Okay, beautiful. Now that you have that set up, wherever that might be, okay, step number two is what you're now going to do is you're now going to go ahead and explore, hey, who is already serving the people that are on your people hypothesis, right? Because the thing is that people are already buying things out there, right? The people that you want to target, they're already buying things out there. Where are those people? Who are they working with right now instead of you, right? And so what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and utilize things like Google. You're going to go ahead and utilize things like Facebook, Instagram, Amazon. Look at the top published books. You're going to look at the YouTube channels, right? You're going to go across the internet, and you're now going to go ahead and compile an entire list of all of the other people that are in that market. Who are the other players that are in that market? What market are we talking about? Are we talking about the market of, people who are selling dog food to dogs? No. Okay, we're talking about the market that is according to your people hypothesis, okay? Because there's a gazillion and two different markets out there. What we're talking about is take that people hypothesis that was the general idea, okay? And what we're now going to do is we're going to make a list of, hey, who are your people, right? Your people hypothesis. Who are they going to for guidance right now, okay? Before your people purchase something, they're going out there to go ahead and get educated, right? Even if they're just watching one YouTube video. Well, hey, who are those people? Where are they right now, right? Who are the people out there that have the attention of the people that you want to be able to target, right? Where are your people hanging out? Make a list. Hey, are they on Facebook? Are they on Instagram, right? Where do they like to hang out? What are some of the online tools and resources they use, right? What are the social media platforms? What messaging boards are they on? What Reddit groups? What Facebook groups? All that kind of stuff, right? Who are they subscribed to online, okay? You want to make a list of all of those. Now, does that mean that this is an exhaustive list? No, you don't want to be a remote control student who expects to be spoon-fed and follow blindly, because this is just an example of prompts that you can follow. But what you really ultimately need to do is you need to have a list of at least 20 other products, brands, influencers that have the attention of the people that you want to serve. Again, remember, right now we're not worried about, hey, what are the pain points of these people? What are the paradigms? What is the process? How am I going to help them? What is that going to look like? No, right now, all we're doing is we're collecting the data. We're putting everything on the table. We're getting ourselves organized. And then once you are properly organized, I promise you, once you actually properly get organized, the answer to the question that you have in your head is going to be staring right back at you, okay? And so what you want to do is you want to compile, hey, who are the authors, the speakers, the influencers, the YouTube channels, the magazines, the social media accounts, the blogs, the Facebook groups, right? All of that. Where is your general hypothesis of a person hanging out? Where does that look like? We're organizing the table. We're getting everything organized, okay? And then after you have that list of 20, in your document, what you're now going to do, okay, you're going to go ahead and let's say, for example, hypothetically, just as an example, let's say I have like Ellen DeGeneres, I don't know, I got Tony Robbins, Who else? Barack Obama. I don't know. I'm just making up random names on here. Okay. Again, don't please. Sometimes we get students, I mention a couple names inside of a training and they think that it's like gospel, and then they'll go out and think that that's like the answer. Okay. No, I'm just mentioning random names. Okay. I got Tony Robbins, Ellen DeGeneres, and I got Barack Obama. Okay. Let's say, for example, those are the three people that had the attention of my people hypothesis. Okay. What I'm now going to do is, as a subsection within that, right? I'm now going to, let's say this is Tony Robbins. Okay. I'm now going to go ahead and go over to Tony's website, and I'm going to save the link to Tony's website. I'm going to get the link to Tony's testimonials. I'm going to get the link to his landing pages, his ads, right? There's a way to be able to get his ads on Facebook as well as his ads on YouTube and on Google. I'm going to join Tony Robbins' mailing list. Okay. I'm going to now go ahead and save all of those assets. You might end up taking screenshots. You might end up like putting all of those assets and organizing them. Okay. Inside of that section, right? This is the reason why we like ClickUp subpages, because then you can kind of just have subpages on there. But again, remember, the tool is irrelevant. Okay, next up, I'm going to go over to, let's say, I don't know, Barack Obama. Barack Obama is the president, so he probably doesn't have any customer testimonials. But let's say we go over to, I don't know, Ellen DeGeneres, this random, names that I'm making up here, right? So let's go to Ellen DeGeneres. I'm going to go ahead and save. What is her website? What are the ads that she's running? Does she have any landing pages right now? Okay. Does she have any email lists that I can join? Where are her client testimonial, her customer testimonials? Right now, I'm just organizing the landscape, because what's going to happen in the next step is we're going to go in and we're going to dissect and we're going to study the marketplace, and we're going to now pull from where all of the people are. We're going to look at, hey, are our people out there? What are the people purchasing? What are they doing? We're going to go ahead and validate. We're going to legitimize whether or not the people that we want to target is somebody that we actually want to target. Okay. And so what you want to do is you want to compile all and as many of the assets that you can easily reference later. Again, do not be a remote control student who expects to be spoon-fed and follow blindly, right? When we talk about these, this is not an exhaustive list. This is just an example of different assets that you can put together for each of the different players that are inside of that marketplace, okay? And so you want to explore all of these questions to come up with that list, so that way you can come up with as many as possible. I'm telling you, if you're not doing the homework, a lot of times we help people, we're like, hey, what's your market? And they're like, hey, I want to help independent mothers, or I want to help, people with type 2 diabetes, or I want to help, people who are real estate agents, or I want to help people XYZ, whatever. And I'd be like, oh, so you want to help real estate agents? Hey, do you know who so-and-so is? And the person's like, oh, I don't know who that is. I'm like, you don't know who that is? Like, that person is in your market. They're a huge person in your market. They're a huge person who's a solution provider, a competitor, or a player, whatever you want to call it, right? A player in the marketplace. I don't like to call them competitors sometimes, but sometimes you can call them competitors. So be it, right? I'm like, you don't know who that is? How do you not know who that is? Like, I'm not even in your dang market, and I know more about your market than you do. You're not doing the homework to know who's actually in your market. And so this is what we're talking about. This is the actual homework of compiling the swipe file to know what the marketplace landscape looks like. So that way, this is going to be an asset that you're going to be utilizing in the entire marketing that you put together for the rest of your career. This is going to be an asset. So yes, it is absolutely worth it. Because yes, it is a one-time project, but it's definitely going to be worth it for you to do. And so again, you want to go ahead and remember, these are exploration, but the point of all of this is that education is not the learning of facts, but the training of the mind to think. And so please, yes, you are a beginner in this stage, but don't be a limbic laloo who wears a failure uniform, right? Do the dang work, do the dang homework, so that way you can be a winner and understand that this is what winners do. Winners put in the work that is going to give them dividends for a long time coming. Now, what is going to happen is that just by putting together your marketplace swipe file, okay, you're already going to start to notice that your hypothesis, your mind is already going to start to percolate as you go ahead and expose your hypothesis to the real world, right? You had the hypothesis, hey, I want to help, let's say like Christian fathers, okay, hypothetically, I'm just pulling something out of my head, right? Or I want to have help Muslim women or Muslim men or whatever it might be, right? I'm just pulling something out of my head. Examples, please. Everybody, just examples, okay? So what's going to happen is that now as I'm examining the marketplace for that, already I'm going to start to notice that my hypothesis is going to change. Automatically, I'm going to find myself changing my original hypothesis about who I want to serve, because now as I look at the actual marketplace, it's not just some theoretical, hypothetical thing. I'm not just sitting in my store, right, in my flea market, and then thinking about who I want to serve. I actually went ahead and opened the door, poked my head out, went up and down the street, looked at who was actually in the marketplace, looked at all of the competitors, looked at all of the people who were in the shops of my competitors, so I could see who was in the marketplace so I could see who are the actual type of people that I want to serve. What are they struggling with? What are they purchasing right now? Who are they going to? What are the marketing messages out there? All of that, right? And so this is a good and natural process that you want to go ahead and have your mind marinate in, right? And it's all a part of the process of really picking that group of people that's really ultimately going to be the foundation and the heart of your entire business. Okay, so that is what we talk about when we talk about creating your marketplace swipe file. Again, if you have any questions, any comments, any concerns, right, go ahead and let us know in the student community. You can go ahead and use the comment section down below. If you do have any specific questions about this, maybe there was a comment that you have, maybe something really resonated with you with this, like maybe you're like, dang, this was really awesome, whatever it might be, go ahead and let us know inside of the student community. And again, this is just a screenshot of what subpages and a swipe file inside of ClickUp might potentially look like. But again, do not get married and do not romanticize with the tool. Use whatever works and whatever feels the best for you. Obviously, there are a bunch of other tech tutorials that we could talk about in terms of like making full page screenshots and saving images and all that kind of stuff. But the thing is, you just want to go ahead and link, save some screenshots, save some places so that way everything is organized properly. And then this is now your asset that you're going to be able to utilize in terms of knowing what is happening inside of the marketplace. So that is step number 2. Go out there and create your marketplace swipe file, and I will catch you inside of the next step. All right, team, welcome to this training section about the step-by-step tutorial for the marketplace swipe file. So you might be wondering, hey, what's up with this extra like bonus training? Like what's going on here? Like, didn't we already talk about the marketplace swipe file? So the answer to that question is yes. And so although there is a general step-by-step training inside of the actual section for how to be able to create a marketplace swipe file, as we have talked about before, the 100K income and business curriculum actually evolves and shifts based on the needs of the students, based on the questions, the struggles, and the needs of the students, right? So some students had questions about the specifics of how exactly to be able to create a marketplace swipe file. So what we're going to be doing inside of this specific training is going over one of the ways to be able to go ahead and create a marketplace swipe file. So it's going to be kind of like a more click-by-click tutorial, okay? However, like we have said many times before, ultimately how you decide you want to end up doing it is up to you. But the biggest thing is, this is kind of like the litmus test to be able to know if you've actually gone ahead and done this properly, is that when a community member or a coach asks you, hey, go ahead and show me your marketplace swipe file, right? Go ahead and show me your market research. You got to be able to have something that is organized in one place to be able to show. If you're like, hey, it's just like a document with a bunch of links in it, that's not going to work, right? We got to have something that is organized, that you have spent time organizing. So we're going to go over some of the different tools that you can use in order to do this properly. So that way you can actually go out there and get this done, because as you're going to see, and as you're going to notice as a theme throughout all of this, is that this marketplace swipe file is absolutely critical and is going to be a recurring theme that you're going to notice over and over again. Literally for every single asset, for every single marketing, for every single sales, for every little piece of your business is going to be utilizing this market research and this swipe file. And so it's absolutely critical that you go ahead and have a proper place to go ahead and organize it. Okay, so the very first thing that we're going to go ahead and talk about is what tool? ClickUp, Evernote, Apple Notes, TickTick, Telegram, I don't know, WhatsApp, I don't know, paper and pen, file cabinet, like what's going on here? So many tools. So here's the truth, and here's kind of the way that I want you to be able to understand this. And this is the best mental model. I want to give you some frameworks on how to be able to think through these things, right? Some first principle frameworks, okay? So over the years, we've actually used many tools to be able to create our market research and organize our market research and our swipe file, right? Some of these tools are like this, right? We've also used Google Sheets, which I might throw in a real quick tutorial on because it's still an amazing option. And when in doubt, we honestly just go back to like Google Sheets and Google Docs, and then we build up from there and see what it is, right? Now, lately, we've actually started using a software called ClickUp that I'm going to walk you guys through in just a second. But here's kind of the way that I want you to be able to understand tools and how tools work, is that tools are exactly that. They are just tools, okay? And tools are meant to actually go ahead and get the job done. Tools are not meant to be romanticized about. They're not meant to be romantic with or about tools, okay? Get romantic with your partner. Don't get romantic with tools, okay? And so I want you to be able to start thinking of yourself kind of like a idea builder, a knowledge builder, okay? In the same way that, let's say somebody who's a builder of, a chair, or somebody's building a building or whatever it might be, right? They might have like 10 different screwdrivers inside of their toolbox. And what they do is they use whatever tool is needed in order to get the job done. The goal isn't to go ahead and have like the best tool ever, right? The builder isn't like, hey, this tool, even though I know it's not the tool for the job, right? It's not going to actually fit in the, screw or whatever like that, but this is like the best thing ever. I must use this specific tool. No, the goal is to have the best tool for the job at hand. And so depending on the builder might have his or her own preferences around what specific tool that they really love, okay? And then at the same time, there's going to be also the job. And so it's kind of like the blend between, okay, hey, we got to have the builder and his or her preferences, right? Kind of how they work, their workflow, and then the actual usage of the tool. And then we got to be able to have the middle ground between there, right? We can't just only base off of the preferences, but then the tool isn't the good tool for the job. And then we can't only base it off of the tool for the job, but if it doesn't work well with the builder, then that's not going to work either. And so ultimately, that is why it is such a unique decision around what tool is going to work best for you, okay? So we're still going to go ahead and give you some recommendations, walk you through kind of the tools that we like to use based off of our preferences and based off of the job at hand, which is building a swipe file in a marketplace, right? So for example, if you were like, you know what, I want to build my swipe file in marketplace research by hand, like paper and pencil. Like that might be your preference, right? As a builder, you're like, you know what? I don't really like to kind of get lost in the, online computer side of things. That's my preference. I like to use physical stuff, right? That's how I want to build my marketplace swipe file and my market research and all that kind of stuff. But the thing is, that tool may not be the best at hand for the thing, because you got to be able to save images, you got to be able to save links. What are you going to type out? You're going to write out an entire link by hand? It's not going to work, right? How are you going to click it? How are you going to hyperlink it? And so that's why we got to find a proper blend between there. And so sometimes you might use a different tool for a different job. No big deal. You just got to find what that ideal fit is. Now, unfortunately, when it comes to those people who are, let's say, newbies, beginners, right? And a lot of times, even the limbic lallus who wear the failure uniform, right? What they do is they actually get obsessed with the tools, okay? And the reason I know that is because I have crossed this line into becoming a limbic lallu in my past lives, and probably in some areas of my life, I'm still crossing this line, right? So it's not like a complete, black and white thing in which you are a limbic lallu or you're not. Sometimes it's like, hey, in certain areas of your life, you're being a limbic lallu, right? And so many times in the past, right, when a younger version of myself has crossed this line over and actually gotten obsessed with trying to find the best tool, or like I was like, I got to find the best XYZ, right? And the truth is that it doesn't work that way. And what ends up happening is that it ends up being a distraction, because here's the thing, the point of the tool is to get the dang job done. And so if you're not getting the dang job done, and all you're doing is you're spending time looking for the tool or trying to, optimize the tool or whatever, then you know what it is? What you got to do is you just got to shut up, put your head down, and get the job done regardless of whatever tool you have, right? And even to this day, sometimes I still catch myself kind of doing this, right? And whenever we're building operations, even other coaches, Coach Malik does this sometimes as well, is like, hey, we're building something out and we're like spending all this time with like, hey, we got to find the best tool for this job in the best optimized way, and we're like, screw it. Let's just go to Google Docs and Google Sheets and just get the dang job done, right? And so with this understanding, right, this is kind of the mental framework that I want to always equip you guys with, to be able to understand, hey, we want to equip you guys with the mental framework on how to actually understand and the mindset around all of these things, okay? So here's the thing. We have used many tools over the years, right? And we are actually switching tools all the time based off of how things are changing, right? There's new tools that are coming out, new kind of things that work. Now, just because new tools are coming out doesn't mean we necessarily have to use them, but if there is a compelling reason as to why this new tool does the job significantly better, then yes, we will go ahead and use the new tool, right? So we just want to get the job done, and in the future, the tools are going to change. It's no big deal, XYZ, right? So the mini training that I want to go ahead and walk you guys through as a tech tutorial is on the latest tool that we've been using called ClickUp. Now, the reason why we have been using ClickUp, and the reason why this tool has not just been a shiny object that we've gone ahead and kind of chased, is because they have have this really cool feature, in addition to being kind of like a task management system and a bunch of other stuff that we use a lot inside of our organization. They have a feature that I'm going to show you inside of this tech tutorial that is called Docs. Now, this Docs feature is different than, let's say, Google Docs, because it allows you to be able to have subpages. And really, when you have subpages, it allows you to be able to organize really complex information or a lot of information in a very simple and easy to understand way. Okay, so what we're going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and walk you through the mini training on the tech tutorial for ClickUp. So let's go ahead and switch over to that now. All right, team, welcome to this mini tutorial on ClickUp. So we're going to go ahead and actually walk through the whole shebang of ClickUp together. So there might be a bunch of hiccups. There might be a bunch of things that we might run into together here, but it'll be fun. So a couple of things that you're going to see me doing on the screen here is, first and foremost, let me go ahead and make this light theme so we can actually see a little bit better. If I go over to Google and type in ClickUp pricing, you will see that I can, and then just a heads up, I think sometimes a lot of students don't know this, is like usually the first bunch of links on when you do a Google search are going to be ads. And so it's going to be like other competitors who are kind of, going for ClickUp pricing and all that kind of stuff with the keywords. So usually what I do is I just skip all of those and I just look at the first link that is not an ad. Okay. So just a, pro tip on there. So we go over to ClickUp pricing. Let's go ahead and look at what the actual ClickUp pricing looks like. So you can see on here, depending on the type of business, because ClickUp is a business solution, right? So there is a free plan. And from what I know and from what I think, now obviously for our organization, because we have a pretty big team and we use some of these advanced features, we do pay for some of these other kind of features. But from what I know, the free version should be more than enough in terms of what it is that you should be looking to do. So we're actually going to go through this entire process together, and let's go ahead and find out if it actually works out. So I'm actually going to come in here and I'm going to put in a fake email address, okay? And I'm going to just go ahead and remotewellnessacademy.com. Sure, let's just go with that. Right now, obviously, you're going to put in your email address. Now, I'm just making kind of like a test on here. So, okay, let's go ahead and put my name, and then we're going to come over here. We're going to pick a password. Now, if you're not using a password generator, you are missing out. I would highly recommend it, but I'm going to go ahead and stop this so I can go ahead and enter in a password real quick. All right, we are back. So I went ahead and put in a password there and just generated one from the password generator and saved it on there. That's a whole separate tech tutorial. Let's go ahead and click on play with ClickUp. Again, we're signing up for the free account. Let's see what happens. Oh, well, there's my example, my test email. So let's go ahead and I'm going to real quick pause this, go over to seeing this, test email and get this verification code real quick. All right, welcome. So we went ahead and got in the verification code. You saw I just went ahead and pasted that in there from the test email. So that is done. Now what we do is cool. Our mission is this. We're going to go ahead and name your workspace. So in this case, I'm going to just name it my coaching practice name. Okay, so NutriFit Wellness, so that will make it a little bit official. Avatar, we'll make it, there. Choose a color scheme. I like black. I like black. Black is a cool color. How many people are going to be working with you? Just me, 2 to 5. That's fine. Doesn't really matter. In my case, I'll put 2 to 5. How are you going to start using it? I don't know. Let's just put operations. Sure. I don't know. How did you hear about us? I heard about you guys from a friend or colleague. Sure, let's go there. Invite people. No, I don't have anybody else to invite. Do you use any of these apps? I don't really care right now. No, thanks. Cool. Let's play with ClickUp on here. Okay. Beautiful. Now that we got rocking and rolling here, so I'm going to just go ahead and drag this up a little bit so you guys can see, is a couple things. Let me see if I do dark mode. Nope, not a fan of that. I might go into my settings. I do like to go ahead and mess around sometimes with, let me see on here, settings, layout and size. Okay, so this is good for now. Let me go ahead and look for a setting that I'm looking for real quick. So let me pause this and I'll be right back. All right, so I found the setting. This is one thing I do like to do whenever I'm messing around with ClickUp, but again, it's optional for you, is I like to go to layout and size. I like to have a dark sidebar on here. It's a little bit easier, so it has a little bit of contrast on there, and then I just leave it simple. Beautiful. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and talk about ClickUp. Now, initially when you open this up, you're like, okay, this is a little bit confusing. What's going on here? Let me see if I can I zoom in a little bit? Yeah, I can zoom in a little bit. Let's do that. Sweet. So what you're going to notice on here is that the biggest thing with ClickUp is that there's like dashboards and spaces and all of this confusing stuff, right? But the biggest thing you want to understand is that, cool, you're going to have a space, okay? And then a space is kind of like a folder, and you can come over here, and I might even come over here and like rename this space. I might just call it like, let's call it let's call it spice messaging. Let's do that. Let's call it spice messaging. I'm gonna hit save. And then I'm gonna go ahead and hit this plus button, and I'm gonna go ahead and add a doc right here, okay? So I'm gonna hit add a doc, and you're gonna see that this doc shows up right here. And I'm gonna call this my swipe file, okay? And then a couple things I also like to do is I will go ahead and collapse the sidebar right here. So that way I have the swipe file, and then I can now go ahead and add a sub page right here. And so you'll see on here we have swipe file, we have a page, and then right here now I can do like market research, right? I can go ahead and add a bunch of stuff. And then I might also go over here, and inside of my spice messaging folder, I might add another document. And in this document, I might go in here and put spice messaging, my spice messaging. Let's do that. And then I might put in here my people. I might go in here and put in my pain. I might go in here and add my paradise. And then I can go ahead and hit this plus button underneath pain, and it'll have like pain of my people, right? And then I can have its own document here, just like that. You'll see this is its own separate document. I can go over here and mess around with the page details. So let's say, for example, I want the spacing to be a little bit different, the paragraph spacing, the page width. I can mess around with all of that. So just these small settings that are over here. I can go over here and click on this little icon, and I can set, let's say, pain. What is a good icon for pain? I know a good paradise one. Let's do island. We got an island. Yeah, there we go. Paradise, right? And then pain might be like a sad person. This person's like sad. He's in pain, right? People might just be like, I don't know. Let's say people. Let's just put any one of these icons on here. I don't know. Let's just do that. Let's see. People. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. Spice messaging, I might put like a star on there. So you can see you can mess around with this, kind of customize it, make your own pain of my people, paradise. I might come over here and have some notes around my unique mechanism. And then I can even use this for journaling. Let's say, for example, I had an insight, and let's say, for example, it was, I don't know, February 23rd, let's say like 2025. I don't know. Let's go into the future or the past, regardless of, what time you're watching this training. And then I might journal here, right? This was like, breakthrough on my spice messaging, and then I might be like, I was thinking, XYZ, and then I had a breakthrough, and then you might be able to go ahead and journal or brain dump inside of this using your unique mechanism, okay? And so, or using your sub pages on here. So that is how you could end up using docs. If you wanted to share, there's a share button on here, and so you could end up having a public link, and then you can share a public link that way. There's a private link as well. I don't know what the private link is. You can just put your mouse over here and look at that. So again, we are not going to be the best tech support for ClickUp. You know who's the best tech support for ClickUp? ClickUp. They have their own tech support team that they probably pay millions of dollars to be able to go ahead and do tech support. And then guess what? Google exists too. So let's say, for example, I was like, how to share a ClickUp document, right? If I go over here, how to share a ClickUp document, look at that, docs, privacy and sharing. Oh, wow. It tells me how to be able to share a ClickUp document with all of the details on there, right? Maybe if I go over to YouTube, let's go youtube.com, how to share, I don't know what is going on here. Let's say how to share a ClickUp document. This is a throwaway account, so I don't even know what the heck is going on here. How to share a ClickUp document. Let's do that. And then over here, let's see on here, maybe you get some stick. Oh, right here, sharing docs, ClickUp tips. There you go. Look at that. It's on YouTube as well. And so what I'm saying here is that Google and YouTube have so much valuable information that you can learn from. And so please do not be a student who's remote control, follows blindly, expects to be spoon-fed, because there's so many things out there if you are actually resourceful, okay? A couple other things I want to show you on ClickUp. If you add a list on here, let's say, for example, I wanted to do, I don't know, NutriFit tasks. Okay, you can go ahead and create tasks on here as well. You can have due dates. You can assign them to yourself. You can use it like kind of like a team. On here, there's a whole bunch of different views. You can have like a Kanban view that's kind of like Trello. You can have a Gantt chart, a timeline, a mind map, a calendar. There's just a whole bunch of other things that you can use this for as well. So I just want you to be familiar with this, so that way you at least understand, okay, hey, this is a tool that is in my tool belt that I could potentially and possibly use, but primarily what we like to use this for is really the documents, because they do have the sub pages and kind of how all of that works. Okay, so that is the quick kind of mini tutorial on ClickUp. We might just end up adding a few other things on here if you really need to. Oh, here's another one real quick. Let me talk to you about this. Spice messaging, I'm going to save it as my favorite. You see I clicked on that star right there. And then if I open up my sidebar here, you'll see that I have my favorites right here. And then I like to go ahead and pin the favorites to the top, so that way it's easily accessible, because I don't like to mess around with all this stuff over here. And then I might do the same thing with my swipe file. So I click on the star here, swipe file, and you'll see now whenever I go to ClickUp, and I go to ClickUp.com, it'll take me over to my ClickUp, okay? And then at the top here, I'll have my Spice messaging and my swipe file. And so it's very easily accessible for me. So I can just go ahead and add to my swipe file as I find somebody else who's a competitor in the space, a player in the space, whatever that might be, okay? And then there's a whole bunch of other features on here you can kind of mess around with and kind of explore, but that is going to be up to you to kind of do and figure all that out. But as you can see from the free plan, it looks like we were successful in getting rocket and rolling with really what we need it to do. And then down the road, of course, as you scale your company, if you need some of the advanced features and all that kind of stuff, that can be something you explore. But it looks like the free version should be more than enough for you to go ahead and get started. So with that being said, this is the mini training and the tech tutorial on ClickUp. We're going to go ahead and cut back over to the main training. All right, welcome back from that quick tech tutorial on ClickUp. Again, it's a powerful tool. Again, it is just a tool. Remember, do not forget this. It is just a tool, all right? And so in the future, maybe if ClickUp changes their pricing structure, maybe if we don't like it anymore, sometimes a lot of softwares go out there and like mess up their awesome features, or sometimes better things come along. And so maybe in the future, maybe even the time that you're watching this, it may not be the best. But as of right now, at the time of recording this training, it is what we have found to be, in our opinion, the best tool for the job that we like based off of our preferences and based off the tool that needs to be there. But again, hey, find out what works best for your preferences, okay? Now, next up, what we're gonna go ahead and do is we're gonna go ahead and go through a step-by-step, click-by-click, side-by-side on how to actually go ahead and organize the successful players in the marketplace using some of the tools that we have talked about, okay? And so this is going to be a side-by-side mini training, so I am gonna go ahead and cut over to that right now. All right, welcome to this quick mini training that's going to walk you through on organizing the successful players in the marketplace. Okay, so we are continuing with the tool that we have talked about so far, but again, it's just a tool that is the tool of ClickUp. Okay, now let me go ahead and walk you through what this might look like if you wanted to use this tool to kind of organize everything. Okay, so again, we have our sidebar here. If I'm in the swipe file, I like to go ahead and kind of close the sidebar so I have more real estate. This is another thing that we might end up making a bunch of tech tutorials for, because I think some students don't realize that screen real estate is actually very important. Some of you guys are trying to build like massive companies, or trying to build a coaching practice with this tiny little screen. If that's the case, we would highly recommend that you do end up getting a second monitor, because especially like with these tech tutorials, you want to have one screen or one side of your screen that you can use kind of to follow along, and then the video is kind of playing over here, right? Or the training is playing over here. It's extremely valuable when you have, monitor 1 and then you have monitor 2. Or you have a big enough monitor, right? Maybe you have a bigger computer or something like that, that you can then go ahead and have half of your screen with the training, and then the other half of your screen kind of you doing stuff, right? And so I cannot tell you how many times I use kind of two screens side by side. But if you have like this tiny screen, right? You're using this like a MacBook Air or something but again, you can use, my wife uses a MacBook Air all the time, but she has a second screen that she kind of hooks up with the HDMI cord, and then she can go ahead and have two screens. But if you have this tiny screen and you're like, cool, I'm gonna go ahead and see what the heck is going on here, it's very, 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 very difficult to do that, okay? So you wanna make sure that you're setting yourself up for success with that. But anyways, that's a whole separate tutorial that we would go through. But let's go ahead and talk about how to actually organize your swipe file. So we might have, let's say, hypothetically, we might have like a market research page inside of our swipe file document. And then over here, I'm gonna go ahead and do slash is a global command here inside of ClickUp, and I might go ahead and add a table, okay? And then once I go ahead and add a table, I might add a couple extra columns here. And then once I add a couple columns, I might put like name. I like to put headers for everything from the very beginning. So I might put name. I might put things like, running ads maybe. I might put, let's say maybe like YouTube subscribers, right? Stuff like that. And then what I like to do, now again, you can use whatever system you want to do, but I'm just kind of showing you what I might like to do. I like to come over here, maybe put this over here, YouTube subscribers. Apparently I can't spell. Whenever I want to do spell check, I just go over to Google. I open a new tab using Command T or Control T on the keyboard, and then I paste the word in, and then I go over to Google, and then Google tells me, hey, you spelled it wrong. And then I copy the word there, and I paste it right here. That's like my spell check if the right click isn't working on here. But anyways, I'll highlight this over here, and then I might go to background color, make this gray, okay? And then let's say, for example, I was gonna now find out, one of the students had like, they wanted to coach fathers, right? Fathers, and they wanted to coach fathers on wellness. So I might go over to, let's say, YouTube. Now, one thing I don't like about YouTube right now is that this is a throwaway account that I'm using, and I don't have my Chrome extensions that I use in order to block all of the crazy distraction on YouTube. So real quick, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and pause and get that Chrome extension right now. Okay, so that Chrome extension we already know it's called Newsfeed Eradicator. It is a Chrome extension. I'm gonna go ahead and add it to Chrome real quick. And no, that's just a throwaway account that I'm using here right now. I'm gonna go ahead and allow. Very good. So that way, hopefully if we go to YouTube, it doesn't have a bunch of crazy distraction. I hate the distraction. There we go. Awesome. Beautiful. So I might go over here and I might type in, let's say, coaching for fathers, right? I'm looking for people who are, I'm usually looking at kind of like the YouTube handle. So Dad University, ask Coach Greg Adams. That might be one place I might look at, right? So I might look at a couple people like that. And then I might also go, let's say, fatherhood coaching on Google. I might type that in. And I'll look at, let's see, the everything guide for dads, navigating fatherhood. But again, remember, it doesn't have to be, let's say, successful players in the marketplace who are targeting for wellness. It might be just people who are targeting fathers in general that we can pull messaging out of, right? Fathering Together coaching program, right? The dad coach, I like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull out, and this is where screen real estate is very helpful. I'm going to go ahead and pull this out, go ahead and kind of put that over here. And again, I'm kind of on a smaller screen because I'm recording right now, but it would have been helpful if I, had this all big. And then I might go over here. Let me pull this down a little bit so you can see. I might go over here and look at, okay, this is the Father's Playbook. It's an app. This is Fathering Together. I like that, Fathering Together. Very good. Okay, so I might put Fathering Together, right? Fathering Together. And then what I'll also do is I'll come over here and I'll add a page for, let's say, Fathering Together. And then I'll come over here and I'll do, let's say, their website, and I'll put the word here. I'll come over here and copy this together, and then I'll paste this just like that. So if I just go ahead and Control V on my keyboard, it'll be paste on there. Fathering Together. Where was the YouTube channel? The YouTube channel right here. Whoopsie daisies. There we go. Dad University. Okay, Dad University. We like that. Let's go ahead and put over here Dad University. Right? And I'm going to also put it over here in the market research. Dad University. Awesome. Let's go there. University. And then YouTube subscribers they have is, let's say, 71,000 right here. Dad University. I'm going to save their link. So what I like to do, again, 100% complete preference. I might have like a master list here of like, different people that I'm finding, and like some, kind of like a dashboard of like, okay, YouTube subscribers, are they running ads? Yes or no? And then all of their individual stuff I'm going to put over here, right? So I'm going to put like a dash, and that'll make it into a bullet point, or I can go ahead and click on / on my keyboard and add a toggle list, or where is it? Bullet point list, I think. Let me put bullet. There we go. Bullet list. And then I go ahead and put, let's say, YouTube channel, right? YouTube channel. And then I might put here, and then I'll grab this YouTube channel here. Very nice. And then I might even grab, let's see, we're going to go over here, grab their website. I like that. Website. Very good. Put that over here, hyperlink that in there. And then I'll go down here and let me pull over here. Oh, you know what? I really like this. Why become a member? Reduce your stress, achieve work-life balance, harmony, whatever. Get your child. Now, it's interesting. They use, instead of work-life balance, it harmony. There might be a reason that might have to do with spice messaging, right? And so I like this. And so what I might do is I might come down here and I might put a slash mark, and I'll put, let's make it a header. Okay, so you can see on here, you can have normal text or header. I'm going to make it a header. I'm going to say, I like this. I like, maybe this is Spice Framework. Let's call it Spice Framework. And then I might come over here, take a screenshot of this. I like that. And then I'm going to paste that screenshot right over here. Very nice. I like this. I might even come over here, other than the screenshot, so I don't have to type it up later. I might go ahead and copy this and then put all of that right here. Why become a member? Make that into a bullet point list. I like that. Very nice. Very nice. Maybe I'll take some, let me see, free resources, fatherhood articles, podcast episodes. Okay, so I might take a note here, like what are the channels that they're using, right? So let me make another header, channels using. And then I'm going to go ahead and have, let's say, articles, YouTube, podcast, email, newsletter. Articles, YouTube, podcast, and then email. Okay, let's just do email. And I might even put email newsletter. Okay, this is good. So we're seeing what's happening in the marketplace. They got a merchandise. They got About Us, About Dad University. All of these are things that we can pull from in terms of what we are doing, okay? And so again, that's Dad University. Now, we might go over and let's switch niches real quick. Now, obviously, you're not going to do this, but I'm just, for the sake of the example, going to switch niches and maybe talk about something else. Let's go ahead and talk about maybe Tony Robbins. But actually, one thing I want to do here, and let's go over a couple of things on here. Let's kind of go through what we're talking about here, right? Let's actually use the guide instead of me just riffing off the top of my head and giving you a tech tutorial. Another thing we might actually use Google Sheets. So sometimes I might go over here and I might go sheets.new, just FYI, sheets.new is if you hit sheets.new, it'll open up a new Google Sheet. And then I might type in here market research, and then I might go ahead and kind of save it using this folder icon. I might move it inside of my Google Drive so that way everything is nice and organized there. Now I could have repeated the exact same thing using Google Sheets, right? So I could go name, I could go website, I could go YouTube, I could go, XYZ. I like to come over here, make this black, make this white, so that way it's different. And then the exact same thing that I went ahead and did over here, right? It's like, okay, let's do fathering together, dad university, right? And then I could come over here, grab that YouTube channel link, boom, just like that. Whoopsie daisy, that's loud. Here we go. I might come over here. Command K or Control K on the keyboard will open up this prompt to go ahead and paste. So that way we have that. And then we might go over here. We might, can I click this? There we go. Copy this over here. Website. I'm going to put the word here. So you could go ahead and like click in here and put the link just like that. You could do that too. Like sometimes I do that if I'm in a rush, but if I want to be like really organized, I'll put the word here so that way I can just click on it and it's a little bit more organized that way, right? And then I'll hyperlink it. You can right click and then go down to, I think it's like hyperlink somewhere here. I just use the command keyboard. Oh, insert link. There we go. Insert link. I just use the keyboard. It's Command K or Control K on the keyboard. I paste that on there. So again, these are all kind of what you could do with Google Sheets as well. You can do the exact same thing, or you can even kind of use a combination. You might say, you know what? I want to do this table. I don't like the table on here, right? I might even do, let's say, YouTube subscribers. I don't like the table feature on ClickUp. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go ahead and put right here, I'm going to create a bookmark around this. And so that way I have my market research here. I'm not going to use this table, but I am going to use the pages inside of ClickUp to be able to organize, all of the other research, because you can't organize, what are you going to do? You're going to organize this in here. It's going to be, you could do it, but it's messy, right? You can't have screenshots in here. You can, but it's a little messy, like all that kind of stuff. So I might use a combination of these tools, right? And so what I'm looking for is I'm looking for YouTube channels, social media accounts, popular podcasts, Google keywords, or I might use not keyboards, keywords. There we go. And so I might go ahead and type in like, hey, coaching, wellness coaching for fathers. Let's see if we can pull anything out as a live example. Know your location? I don't want you to know my location right now. Health coaching for moms and dads. Naked health coach. That's interesting. Okay. Doctors helping that. Core father coaching. Interesting. Men's health dad bod coaching. What is this? Right? So then you kind of go down some rabbit holes. That's what you're trying to do here. You're going down rabbit holes to see what you can pull up. Fitness for dads. Oh, let's go back. I like that one. And I might hold command on my keyboard. And if you hold command on your keyboard and then click, it'll open up the tabs in the background, right? So it'll be like dad life. Let's go over this. Dads who lift. Okay, interesting. Fatherhood, health, and well-being. Look at that. And then I'll go through these. Dad bod coaching. Let me open up. We want real estate. Real estate is where it's at. Fitness for dads. Look at that. Interesting. Okay. And I might look at, you can learn a lot from this. Look at the messaging. You can also see if they're running ads, which I'm going to show you in just a second. Dads who lift, right? All of these are, I'm looking at, what's more aligned with what I'm doing, right? Like something like this. Obviously, I might not add this to my swipe file. I might if it was a little bit more like, this looks like very medical-ish. Like this is not something that I would add on there, right? But again, I'm showing you all of the tools that we have running here in terms of what we're using to be able to do this, right? And then what we're doing is we're taking account of all of their kind of different sources on here, right? So let me go back over here to my Spice messaging, market research. Again, if you decide you wanted to do it on here, you could, or if you decided you want to do it on the spreadsheet, you could do it like that as well. And then just have all of the other resources in ClickUp, right? So I might come over here and again, when in doubt, I just use Google Sheets and then combine it with ClickUp. I might put like client testimonials. Let's go over here, testimonials. I might do website we got, let's say like landing page link. I might do like, let's say ad library, which I'm going to show you in just a second. If they have any communities, I'm going to go ahead and put the communities there. And again, all I just do is go, hey, I'm going to put ad library here. And then once I find the ad library, I'm going to put it on there. Okay. And then what you're doing is you're tracking success. Now, what you're doing is to track success because remember, we're trying to find the successful players in the marketplace. You want to be able to go ahead and model your Spice messaging based off of what you're able to see is kind of the successful players, those players who have been in the space for a while, right? Somebody who maybe, I don't know, look at this like, Coach 66. I don't know. It doesn't look like I might be wrong, and we'll check in just a second. I'm going to show you how to be able to check if they're actually running ads or not, but they might not be the most kind of successful people in the marketplace. And so they might not be the people that I want to model off of, right? So, I mean, the gentleman, nothing against him. He looks awesome, but he might not be the most successful person I want to model off of, okay? And so I'm going to look for more of the successful people in the marketplace that we are looking for, okay? And so a couple of things on here is Instagram following size. You can look at that as well. So you might have on here, if I go back over here to Google Sheets, I might have like their Instagram link, right? Instagram link. I might move this over here. I might even add a column to the left side and put like Instagram. This will be Instagram link. And then this would be Instagram followers, okay? And then I might put YouTube subscribers on the left side here. There we go. Very nice. And then the other thing I want to go ahead and say is that the YouTube following and the Instagram following is not always a good indicator or predictor of success. We're just kind of looking for the vanity metrics. Of course, at the end of the day, you'll never know if the people are actually being successful behind the scenes. Like, for example, at the time of recording this training, RWA has a very small social media following because we do a lot of things behind the scenes. We're a more product-oriented company rather than like a, dance like a monkey on social media kind of company. And we do, over $1 million, $3 million a year. And so that's just something to note. But again, all you're doing is you're kind of just looking for the obvious signs. There is no right or wrong answer for this, okay? Now, having said that, what I also want to do is I'm going to show you how to be able to see if they are actually running ads. So let's go ahead and walk you through that right now. And I guess this is going to be like a mini training inside of a mini training. So let's go ahead and walk through this right now. So what we're going to go ahead and do is I'm going to pause. I'm going to find a Facebook account that I can go ahead and log into because this is a throwaway account that I just put together randomly. So I'm just going to go ahead and pause real quick and I will be right back. All right, welcome back. So I just ended up going over to my Facebook. So we're going to go ahead and run a couple things on here. Let me show you how to actually check if somebody's running ads. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to go over here. And one of the people that we were looking at was, let's say, like Dad University, right? So what I'm going to do is, and let me switch this over to light mode so we can actually see a little bit better. There we go. So what we're looking for here is we're actually going to go over here to pages, okay? And so we're going to go over here to pages. And once we actually go into pages, we're going to go ahead and click on Dad University, right? So because on Facebook, you only run ads from pages. So you go to Dad University, and then what you do is you go over here to About, and then you go over here to Page Transparency. Now, sometimes the About section and Page Transparency is like located on the sidebar here. So just something to note, like it might be on here on the sidebar. So sometimes it's in different places for different pages. But we go over here to About, we go to Page Transparency, and then on this case, you can see this page is not currently running ads. But let me show you what it would look like if they are actually running ads, okay? So in this case, right, we're gonna come back over here. Are they running ads? The answer is no. If you're using Google Sheet, if you want to do it, in this case, like I like having this, but then I like having this on ClickUp for kind of the additional notes that I want to put, like Spice Framework, all that kind of stuff, right? And then you might even have a combination of the two, right? You can have kind of some of the main important links here, and then some of the other, other data that you want to put, you can put over here. But are they running ads? Let's see. Running ads, right? So are they running ads? This one is a no. But then if I wanted to show you what their ad library would look like, let me go back over to the ad library. So if I was going to go ahead and go over to the ad library, we would go over here back to the other page that we were at. And then again, this is why screen real estate is so important, because look at how many screens I got running here. This is not how I like to do things. I usually like to do things side by side. Okay, but because I'm recording right now, I'm unable to kind of have, I can't show you my entire screen because I have a widescreen monitor. But the thing is, like, side by side is the way to go. If you're running your life like this with gazillion different tabs and windows all over the place, it is madness. It is utter madness. Like, I don't know how you keep your mind organized, which the answer is probably you don't. And that's why you need to learn a new skill of how to organize this. But anyways, let's go ahead. And what we do is we click on See All, and then we click on Go to Ad Library. Now, this link right here is actually their ad library. So I can go ahead and actually save that inside of my swipe files right there. And then let me show you what it would look like if they were actually running ads. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to come back over here. We're going to type in Tony Robbins, okay, just as an example. And then what we do is we go over here to Pages, and then we find Tony Robbins' page, okay? And then once we find Tony Robbins' page, we're going to go to About. Then we go over to Page Transparency. And again, maybe one of your inspo things that you want to save for your swipe file is Tony Robbins, because he runs pretty good marketing and I know he's successful in the space. So we go over here to Page Transparency. You'll see the page is currently running ads, which is awesome. And another thing I like to do actually is I do like to save their page for reference in the future as well. So I might do Facebook page. I might go over here and go over here. But again, I could go over to ClickUp. I can go over here. I like to do this a lot of times too. So I'll go over here, Facebook page, save that over here. Very good. Awesome. And then once we go back over to where Tony was, about page transparency, I'm going to click on see all. And then I go ahead and scroll down. I go to ads library. And now I can see all of the ads that Tony is running. And so normally if they are a successful player in the space, they are running ads. And the reason why they're running ads is because they have enough profitability to run ads. And so again, I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to go to the ads library for Tony Robbins, right? And I think this one was Tony's page. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and move that there. Okay. And then ads library, again, I can go ahead and zoom in a little bit because I see that it is getting a little bit kind of tight. Maybe that's a little bit too much. Another thing that I sometimes like to do is, for the sake of, I like to freeze some rows and columns. So I'm going to freeze the first column, and I'm going to also go ahead and freeze the first row. So that way, no matter how much I scroll left or right, those two kind of stay solid. Okay. So then I can go ahead and now zoom in a little bit. Again, the reason why screen real estate is so important. But see, now that I can go left and right, if I go left and right, and again, what I'm doing to go left and right with my mouse, and again, if you're using like your trackpad on your laptop, it might be a little bit difficult to do this. Now, I did use a trackpad for many years, but now I use a external mouse and keyboard, which is so much helpful. So even though I have a laptop, I still use an external mouse and keyboard because I get to choose the kind of keyboard that I want and all that kind of stuff. So I'm holding Shift on my keyboard, and then I'm scrolling with the scroll ball over on the mouse, okay, to go left and right. So yeah, ads library over here. I'm going to go ahead and click on here, or type in here, and then I'm going to go ahead and save that. Whoopsie daisies. No, I got to save it from here. There we go. Go back over here. Save it from right here. Okay. That's the ads library. Now, here's the thing that I might do. Now that I got the ads library, I might even go in here and see, hey, what kind of copy is he running, right? What are kind of the ads that he is running? And, maybe I really like, let's say, for example, I really like how he framed this. Okay. So I want to go ahead and add this to my swipe file. Now, you can't add that to, what are you going to add all this entire thing over to Google Sheets? No. So Google Sheets is awesome for, being able to have this kind of stuff. But then I might go over here and I might go, let's say, what was that ad that he was running on here? This was like, what's the offer? Top business success secrets. It looks like that's for his business mastery program, right? So I might come over here and put business mastery, so ad copy, right? And then I can go ahead and now paste that ad copy here. Or sometimes what I like to do is I like to go ahead and add a code block. So that way it's nice and organized in a code block. Again, these are just kind of like pro tips. But yeah, so that might be ad copy that I really like that I could save. But again, it's under the sub page of Tony. So I can go ahead and have all of that in there, right? And I can have unlimited number of sub pages underneath Tony's kind of main page on there. So that's how you can kind of start to organize what's going on here. The other thing I might do, let's say I got to go to Tony Robbins' website. Okay, Tony Robbins' website. And then I might go over here and see, let's say, what he got going on here, right? Maybe he has a testimonial page that I can go ahead and hyperlink as well. Maybe. We might have to see. Here's his SPICE. Oh, here we go. Look at that. That is his SPICE framework that you're going to learn about in just a second, right? In an upcoming training. SPICE framework. I like that. I might save that. Very nice. What else can we get from this? Oh, here's some customer testimonials. Customer testimonials are amazing to learn from in terms of, let's say, I'm going to do, I don't know. Oh, look at that. Let's do some health coaching testimonials on here, right? Or maybe some life coaching testimonials. Again, remember, you're not limited only to the domain of health when it comes to coaching. You have 4 domains: health, wealth, relationships, and a connection to something greater, right? So all of that is available for you. After my strategy session, oh, look at that. They use strategy session terminology too. That's something I'm learning, which is cool, right? So Tony Robbins teams uses strategy session. After my strategy session, 14 days, we did $2.9 million in sales. Okay, this is not health coaching related. So I guess maybe their health coaching isn't as kind of results coaching, isn't maybe as developed as some of their other aspects of things, right? So meet our coaches, life coaching, kind of just exploring, right? I'm looking at what is going on here to make sure that I'm pulling all of what I can from each and every single one of the successful players in the marketplace. So with that being said, let's go back over here to our guide so that way this doesn't just become like a 50-hour training that we're just riffing off of. But again, what we're looking for is like, hey, who are the people that they're targeting? What are the pain? What's the paradise? What's the SPICE framework? What's the unique mechanism, right? So I might add on here, let's say I find something that's unique mechanism related from Tony Robbins specifically. I might find something that is like, pain related, pain, jargon, swipe file, right? Something like that. But again, it's all under Tony Robbins. So this is the reason why we like ClickUp documents for this purpose, because it keeps everything nice and organized with multiple documents underneath here. And then you can also use Google Sheets for this. And then that way you have your Google Sheets linked underneath your market research. So that way you can go ahead and pull from over there. So if we go back over here, right, what goals can life coaching help you with, right? Life coaching is ideal for unbiased guidance. You face major decisions. A coach can help you clarify your goals, right? So clarifying your goals and vision to chart a course towards proactive path. Okay, that might be something that I save under Paradise, because that looks like what they need, right? So over here, put that over here. I might even put it in a bullet point. I like bullet points for this kind of stuff. How long do I need life coaching for? All these are things that I'm just kind of walking you through how you can go ahead and kind of have that idea of what the swipe file is going to actually look like, okay? What else can you take note of? Headlines, words, jargon, what type of nurture strategy that they are using. If you wanted to go ahead and look, I think sometimes, let's say, Unshakable Challenge. Tony Robbins sometimes have some ads for his Unshakable Challenge Google ads. If they don't show up here, let me show you what it looked like. If I typed in ClickUp pricing, you'll see these are ads on here. If I click this on Google Ads and then I scroll down and see more ads from this advertiser, it's going to go ahead and take me over to their Google ads. Now this is just a random one from Notion, but let's say, for example, you hypothetically saw, I don't know, let's say you saw, I'm trying to think of like a good example here. Maybe like I don't know, how to sell on Amazon FBA. I don't know. I'm just going to show you, like, I want to find somebody who is like running ads to show you how to look at Google ads as well, right? So like, let's say Tony Robbins coaching. Let me see on here. Anybody running ads? Oh, here we go. Sweet. So look at this. So Tony Robbins coaching, this worked out really well, is I can click on these three dots and then I can see more ads from this advertiser. So in the same way that we did it on Facebook, we can do it on Google as well, and then look at their Google ads that they're running, because they're two different platforms. So this is running from Robbins Research International. So on here, you can go ahead and see all of their Google ads. And then there are other tools that I believe you can also use. I think VidTow is one of them. Yes, there we go. Video YouTube ad library, okay? This is an awesome resource. Now, I think they have a pricing, but I think the free version lasts for like 10 days. So I'm gonna go ahead and create a free account real quick and see what that looks like. So what I'm gonna do here, let's go and do the whole, my test, whatever majig here, remotewellnessacademy.com, just a test on here. I don't know, let's just create, random password. Let's go in here. Sign up. Okay, so they want me to be able to go through all of this. Is there a way that I can skip this? There is not. So I'm going to go through and which of the following best describes you? I don't know. Let's just do this. Let's do test. Now, I do not recommend you doing this. Obviously, this is just a test version. So, you could just, I'm just testing this out real quick, but obviously, if the founder of VidTow ever watches this video, like, this is just a test. I'm not, I want to kind of just do this a little bit quicker. So that's why I'm just putting test for this to get through on this. Okay. Are you interested in getting no thanks? Not right now. Okay. All done. Thank you very much. Am I in VidTow yet? Going into VidTow here. Let's see. And then I think they have like a free version. And then they have like a paid version. Is it going to log me in? Let's find out. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Awesome. So it says on here, I got free access for only 15 minutes of usage per month. Oh man, that sucks. Okay, well anyways, let me show you what this looks like and these different resources. So if I type in Tony Robbins, you'll see on here that it actually shows me his ads that he's been running, the YouTube ads that he's been running. And I can actually go ahead and see, what ads he's currently running based off of the view count. Let's say based off of the last 30 days. There we go. And so you'll see on here, it looks like he's running this ad. And I can go ahead and click on this ad. And the reason why this is so cool is because you're going to see, whoopsie daisies, I got a YouTube ad on a YouTube ad. Look at that. You're going to see it's unlisted. And so what this tool does, this is just one of the tools. There's a gazillion other tools out there. I'm going to look for some other ones because 15 minutes a month is not very helpful. I have used it, but then I think I just create like another test account on there. But you'll see it helps you get access to unlisted videos, which you would otherwise not be able to find in any other way, right? So you can look through Tony Robbins' Google ads on here. Sometimes that'll take you to some of the YouTube link ads. But then you can also go ahead and you just use tools like VidTow. Again, VidTow is not some unique, special, magical, godlike software on here. No, it's just a software that we have found. But again, it's a tool. The tool is 15 minutes a month. And so now I can go ahead and save this link to the YouTube ad. Okay, I can go ahead and save this link to the YouTube ad. And I like this. And what YouTube ad was this? This was for his business mastery program. So I might come over here. I go business mastery YouTube ads. right? And then I can go ahead and paste that on here. So I have the save link. Now, he might take this ad down and I might really like some of the words that he's using in this ad, right? And so again, for your swipe file, then you might go, I might go to get video dot, I think it's get video, what is it? Get video.tv, I think it's AT. I've used AT before, right? So get video, I might go ahead and paste the YouTube link in here. And then it says video not found. So this is a good example, right? I usually use this website to download. The tool doesn't work. I'm going to go download YouTube MP4. Let's find what we can find out here. Okay. Look at this. I'm going to download YouTube video. And then you'll see this is live. This is literally how it works. I just Google stuff. Okay. And then we're going to put the link in there and show notifications. No. And I want to download this, let's say in 720. And then I don't know what's going on here. So I'm going to go ahead and download this into my download save. And then no, I don't want any, I don't want any random pop-ups. And look at that. Now I've gone ahead and downloaded the actual MP4. And then guess what I might do? I might come over here and let's see, can I drag this into, sweet, look at that. Now I actually have the original file of the ad. So not only do I have the YouTube link, but I also have the original file of it. Here, let me show you another thing. There's another thing you could do. It's called full screen. It's called full screen screenshot, I think, right? And then there we go. It's called go full page. I can add this to Chrome. And then what it allows me to do is it allows me to actually go over here and I'm going to pin this. Where is it? Right over here. I'm going to pin this to the sidebar over here. Now I can go to any single website. Okay, let's go to like Dad University. Right? We had Dad University somewhere here. Let's just say this one right here, right? Body transformation for parents. I'm going to go ahead and click on this right here. And what it's going to do is actually going to go ahead and take a screenshot of the entire page. So that way I have it as a reference. And then here's a cool thing. I can go ahead and save. I'm going to save this in PDF version. Okay, I'm going to save this in PDF version. And I'm going to save the image version of this. So that way, in case this website gets taken down or in case this website changes, guess what? I have it in my swipe file. And I'm going to go ahead and add this. What was this called? Body transformation for parents. BTB. Okay, let's add a new page. BTB. Body transformation for parents. And then I'm going to go ahead and add a toggle because I don't just want massive. So I'm going to put downloads and then I'm going to put image and then I'm going to put PDF and then underneath image, I'm now going to go ahead and drag the image. Boom. And so I got this massive long image on here and then I'm going to go ahead and collapse that. And I'm going to go ahead and also add the PDF. Sweet, there we go. And I got the PDF downloaded on there and now I got the downloads. And so now even if the page changes, look at that, I got the entire thing. Versus if you were going to go in here and try to take a screenshot, you can only take a screenshot of what is looking like, what's exactly on your screen right now. So again, I know this was a super in-depth tech tutorial, but I did want to kind of just go over a bunch of these different tools that you can use. But this is how you go out there and actually organize the successful players in the marketplace side by side, step by step, using different tools. And again, a lot of what you saw is literally live, right? The tool I wanted to use to download the YouTube video didn't work. I had to go to a different one, right? I went over here and I went over here and then VidTow didn't work. And this is how it works. It's lean, it's scrappy. You get the job done using whatever tools are necessary. So that is a side by side on how to actually get the successful players in the marketplace and adding them into your swipe file. I hope that was helpful. I know it was lengthy all over the place, but I hope you get to see some of the kind of things of how things go wrong. And then that way you can see how we actually go ahead and overcome those things. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and cut back over to the main training. All right, welcome back from that side-by-side mini training about organizing the successful players in the marketplace. Very, very important to understand exactly how all of that comes together, and it's going to be an absolute resource for you as you are going ahead and continuing inside of your career and your coaching practice and all of that, okay? Now, the next topic I want to go ahead and talk to you about is why organizing the successful players in the marketplace is so absolutely important. Now, these are going to be very similar concepts as you are learning inside of the Spice messaging module, but I do want to go ahead and touch base on them in a kind of a little bit of a different angle, so that way you can really understand the importance of this. Okay, so as you're going to be learning throughout the rest of the Spice messaging module, our goal really is to make sure that what we are doing is we're creating a Spice messaging hypothesis, okay, that is a hybrid between our own unique spice and creativity, as well as a combination from what is successful in the market from an offer and messaging standpoint. Okay, so this is what that visual looks like. We want to have a combination of the two. And so very similarly to how we kind of talked about having the combination between the preferences of the builder and the actual tool for the job, it's very similar to that, right? We're using a Venn diagram here. And so what we're talking about here is really making sure that, hey, we don't only want to base our spice hypothesis that we're going to go ahead and have our asset and create our community on, and we're going to run ads with and all that kind of stuff, only based on our spice and creativity, and we don't only want to base it on the market success. Why is that the case, right? Because here's the thing. You cannot just go into your shop, right? We've seen this visual many times, and you're going to see this visual many more times, right? This is your chosen market, regardless of what that market is. This is your chosen market, okay? This is kind of like your sub-market, if you want to call it. I'm not saying the market as a whole, right? The market as a whole is like everybody, 7 billion people. But when we say chosen market, your chosen market is specifically, hey, that specific niche, that specific niche, that specific group of people, that specific dream customer market, right? Regardless of that's, hey, independent mothers, that is people who want to make an income online, that is, Christian men, that is fathers, that is Muslim women, whatever it might be, this would represent all of those individuals who are in your chosen market. And the mental model that you want to be able to approach this with, okay, is that, okay, I'm setting up shop in a market the same way like a physical market would be, right? I'm setting up shop, and what you got to do is you can't just go ahead and close the windows and close the door and say, cool, I'm not going to look at all of this other stuff that's going on outside, right? Looking at the other players in the space, looking at, what the people are saying. I'm not going to do any of that. I'm just going to put my head inside, and I'm going to just, come up with some crazy idea and spice messaging that's going to be successful. It doesn't work that way, right? What we have to do is we have to look at the marketplace and then combine it with our own unique spice and creativity, right? We got to start with what is already successful in the marketplace, right? We have to model based off of what is already successful in the marketplace, right? And so that's the reason why when we talked about up there, when we talked about the actual tutorial on organizing the successful players in the market space, that's why it's so important, is because we have to start off with a foundation, because this marketplace has history, right? This marketplace has a history of who are some of the other offers and messages that have been in this market space. And so you can't just come in here and just say, you know what, I'm going to come up with something random from my head, because you're new to this marketplace, right? You've never been in this marketplace before. You got to look who is the ones who are crushing it right now. And then that way you can get a better idea of what's actually going on here. But here's the thing, if you only modeled your hypothesis on the market success, right? If you only modeled it and said, you know what, this person is crushing it, this person is crushing it, and this person is crushing it, so I'm just going to go ahead and model them 100%. If you only did that, then what would end up happening is that your spice messaging would be too close to them, right? It would be too close. You'd end up copying the rest of the market, right? And of course, that is unethical. That is like limbic scarcity, low level behavior, right? That is not good. And so that's the reason why what we got to do is we got to go ahead and combine it with our own unique spice and creativity. But here's the thing. If we only relied on our own unique spice and creativity, right? We didn't do this, then we would end up in some abstract la-la land, making up stuff, having no idea if it would actually work, right? And so that's what we're talking about in being able to combine the two aspects of it, having that spice and creativity, but also looking at what is actually working, right? What is the market actually saying? Who are the successful players in the space? When we have the combination of the two, that is when we have the highest probability of success out of the gate with our successful spice hypothesis. Now, here's the thing you got to understand, is that even with this approach that we're talking about right now, okay, even though this is the best way to be able to create your spice messaging hypothesis to get started off with, right? Because you have nothing right now. You maybe have never ran ads before. You've never had a spice messaging hypothesis. You got nothing. So we're creating this hypothesis to go ahead and test. Okay, we don't have any real world data for you just yet. But even then, there's still a high chance that even with this spice hypothesis, it'll still flop, and you might end up still not having the best outcome, right? Even with this amazing approach. Of course, don't worry, because if you do this amazing approach properly, okay, you will at least be in the ballpark of a hypothesis that is going to work. Now, I would say that there is probably like a 60, 70, 80% chance that your successful hypothesis is going to work out of the gate if you follow the approach that we are walking you through, okay? If you just say, yo, I'm going to go into abstract la-la land and just make stuff up, not based off of what is going on in the marketplace and the other successful players in the marketplace, then yes, in that case, you probably have like a 5% chance or a 10% chance of it actually working, especially if you have no background in internet marketing or in offer creation or in messaging or in marketing as a whole, any of that kind of stuff, right? And so what we're doing here is we're walking you through the best approach to be able to have the highest likelihood of success. And then once you have that hypothesis, you're going to prove that hypothesis out. And then guess what? The beautiful thing about this is that once you start actually proving your hypothesis out, once your ads start getting traction, once you're getting clients with this entire approach, you don't only have a hypothesis now, you have something that is actually proven, right? You have a proven framework that you can just then iterate based off of that, right? So now when you come over here to the marketplace and you look at what is going on, once you open up shop and once you actually get customers inside of your shop, this is not just you coming up with a first-time hypothesis. Now you actually have something that works, and now you can go ahead and build on top of something that is working, right? And so that's what we're talking about in the very beginning is like, hey, we got to help you create the highest likelihood of probability that you will have a successful spice hypothesis from the get-go. And that is the approach that you need right now, is to look at the other players in the marketplace and model them, okay? You're basing that foundation by modeling them and then combining that with your own spice creativity, making it unique, making it better, making it your own based on what it is that is authentic to you and what is going to work best for you and what you can speak about. But you don't want to base a hypothesis either only on the market success or only on your own unique spin. But we start off with the market success. I know I'm repeating the same thing 10 different ways, but it's very important for us to be clear on this so that way you understand exactly what it is that we're talking about. We're starting off with the marketplace success. This is very important. A lot of people say, I'm going to start off with my own unique spice and creativity. I'm going to help, XYZ people do XYZ, and it's going to be like, but how do you know if it actually works? Is there anybody else actually who's crushing it in that specific space, right? So we want to first find who's successful, model off of them, take what they have, and then put our own unique spin to it. That is how we come up with a successful spice hypothesis. And that's the reason why it's so important to do what it is that we are walking you through, okay? Now, next up, what I want to go ahead and walk you through right now is actually organizing using your market research where the market is hanging out, okay? So the first thing we did was the successful players in the market. But other than the successful players in the market, we got to also figure out, hey, where is the market hanging out in general, right? What are the groups? Where are they having conversations? Where are they having, maybe comment sections? All of that kind of stuff. So again, this is going to be a side-by-side tutorial. So I'm going to go ahead and cut over to that mini training right now. All right, welcome to this quick mini training about organizing where people hang out. So we are continuing with our theme of look, we got our swipe file here with all of our different, swipe, players in the marketplace. We're also maybe using Google Sheets, maybe, right? We got our different files going on here. We got all this kind of stuff. We got all these tabs going on here. This is what it looks like. You're just going down the rabbit hole and just looking at what the heck is going on here, right? But when we talk about where the market is hanging out, we might have, let's say, for example, I might have another kind of thing on here, and I might put market hanging out, right? If I wanted to go ahead and use Google Sheets for this, and I might go ahead and make this black, right? Or I might even make it even red to kind of separate it if I really wanted to. And this is where you kind of spend your time on it, right? And so then I might have a different thing on here. Actually, this is dumb. Why am I doing it like this? I should instead, let me delete these, just make a different thing. So this is going to be successful players. And then I might have another one is where market hangs out, okay? And then I might come over here and I put name, and then I might put link, and then that's it. That's pretty much, I think, all I need. And then I might go ahead and make this black, make this white over here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start looking at, let's say I go to Facebook. Now, let me go ahead and open up, where's the Facebook that I was using earlier? So here we go. So the Facebook that I was using here, and I might go ahead and type in, let's say, wellness for fathers, okay, into Facebook. And then I'm going to go ahead and go over to groups. Where's groups? Right here, groups. And then right here, I'm going to look at, let's say, Fathers' Rights Movement, Fathers for Wellness and Health Organization. That's interesting. Has 74 members. Not too many members on there, right? Fathers Well, I got on here, let's say, Health and Wellness Coaching Company. Are you a current health and wellness coach? Okay, this is interesting. Hey, we got some people who are joining this community as well, right? Let's go ahead and say, let's do a different niche real quick, right? So maybe they're not, it looks like fathers aren't really hanging out on Facebook groups, which again is a good kind of data point that we're learning from this. But let's go ahead and do a different niche that we can kind of find out here. Let's do weight loss for independent mothers, right? Let's just do a different niche just to kind of give you an example of what that looks like. Then I'll go over to groups, and I'm pretty sure, Here we go. We got a whole bunch of different groups on here, right? Now, what we can do is, let's say, weight loss support group. This is where we know that there's 186 different people who are hanging out in here, right? This is a whole bunch of stuff that we can pull in terms of what's going on. And so I might save this. This is where the market is hanging out. I'm going to go over here to my market research, and I'm going to type in weight loss support group. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to type in weight loss support group. Okay, support group. Now, could I have gone ahead, and this is where like attention to detail comes in. Could I have copied this right here and then paste this right here? I could have. That looks ugly. The other thing I could have done is I could have used Command-Shift-V, Control-Shift-V on Windows to paste that. But again, it's all capital. I don't like that. And so that's the reason I actually wanted to go ahead and weight loss, what was it called? Weight loss support group. I went ahead and actually typed it because I wanted it to be nice and organized. I don't want like a whole bunch of janky stuff on here. Like, hey, I got one thing that's like this, and then I got one thing that's like, all capital, and then you show that swipe file. And it's like, this is ugly. This is not nice. So you got to have attention to detail when you're doing this stuff, right? And then I might go ahead and save the group. Link like that. I could even go over here and join. I might even go over here and join this group, pull a bunch of kind of data around there. Okay, again, just pulling kind of data as we're going through this on where the market is hanging out. I might even go over here to Reddit and then put like, let's say, fathers, coaching for fathers. Let's say coaching for fathers. Let's see, let's go to that one again. Fathers who coach their own son, parenting coaching, life coaching, right? So subreddit life coaching, that is something that is there as well. There is Dad It. Oh, what is Dad It? What is that? Let's look at that. So how Reddit works is that there are sub Reddits, how that works. And so with subreddits, this is what that looks like. And so this is a entire subreddit of, look at that, 606,000 people for dads, single dads, new dads, stepdads, tall dads, short dads, and dads of any kind. I like that. Look at that. And so this is Dad It, right? So I might go over here if I was, I don't know, now I'm mixing different niches together, but this is where we got, let's say, I might even add a different column on here. And so let's say type. If I wanted to go ahead and do that, and this is going to be a Facebook group, right? Okay, Facebook group. And I might put a Reddit on here. And so this is going to be Dad It, okay? And then Dad It, that is a subreddit to the Dad It right here. Boom. Now, if I don't like this long comment on here, I could go ahead and go over here to, I think it's format. And then you can kind of, let me see on here, rotation, wrapping. You go to wrapping and then you clip. And that'll take that, clip the thing on there. So I could do it on there, or I could have done the whole here thing and then, hyperlinked it on there too. I could do that as well. So again, what you're doing is you're figuring out where your market is hanging out. So even though I want to help dads with maybe wellness, right? But this is where the dads are hanging out. And so that's going to allow me to be able to see, hey, what are the dads talking about? Let me see what's actually going on here when it comes to dads, right? So you want to be able to say, hey, where is the market hanging out in general? And look at that. This is a perfect example. We found 606,000 dads who are inside of this circumcision discussion. Look at that. And so these are all different kinds of things that, dads are talking about. And so you can pull out so much. I can even come over here. Look at this is going to be like a treasure mine. I can go over here to top, and then I can look at the top posts of this year. I can see the top posts of this year. I can look at the top posts of all time. I can see, look, 606,000 dads. What are the 606,000 dads? What are they looking at? What are they voting on? And so here's how my 9-year-old explained net neutrality to his friend, right? This is just an ad, so I can ignore that, right? 3 years and counting. So these are all things that I can pull from in terms of research about dads and what dads are actually talking about. And so that's what we're talking about when we talk about being able to go ahead and put that together on where the market is hanging out, right? I could also use, if I wanted to, I could use this kind of, I could make, let's say, where market hanging out, and I could take notes on this. So let's say, for example, where the market is hanging out, I would say Facebook, right? And let's say my niche, my market is dads, right? Notice that, whoopsie daisies, over here, sometimes ClickUp does that. Over here, Facebook, note, right? And let's say, for example, I went ahead and said, notice that dads are not a lot on Facebook. But actually, you know what? I might be wrong about that. Let me test that hypothesis one more time. Let me go over here and let me just look for dads in general. Dads, and then I go to groups. I might be wrong about this. Dads only. There we go. Life of dad. Bunch of dads, 132 members. Stay-at-home dads, 8.9 thousand members. First-time fathers. The dad group, single dads only. Dad bod transformation. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if this is really about dads, because sometimes they do dad bods, but it's not, actually dads. But again, see, I thought I was about to take a note. Hey, dads against double standards. Okay, dads, look at that. Dads against double standards. That's interesting. Dad's net, dad community group. I love that. So actually, I was wrong, right? This entire note that I was about to type in, notice that dads are not allowed on Facebook. That would have been wrong. And so again, you're stress testing your hypotheses in the market to see, hey, is this right? Is this wrong? And so Facebook note, guess what? And then I might come over here and put, I was wrong, right? And this is also notes. This is just kind of like, hey, I'm externally processing in the notes section of all of this, and I'm putting kind of like a scientist. I'm putting down what I'm learning as I'm exploring, making notes about this. This is what we talk about, and this is why we like ClickUp, we like Google Sheets. These are some of the tools that we use quite regularly, so everything is nice and organized in here. Then I can go to my Spice messaging over here, type in some notes about, I had this eureka idea. What if I went ahead and created a Spice framework around this, because I was doing all of the research and I found that, dads are really talking about this, and then I might put that jargon, that term, that vocabulary, right? Hey, dads are really into this. And then I might go ahead and put those terminologies there as well, okay? So that is what we are talking about when we talk about how to organize where the market is hanging out. I hope these kind of like rough trainings, I know I don't like to do trainings like this all the time because it's a little bit more rough. It's kind of just going all over the place. But I hope these are also helpful for you to be able to see kind of the journey and the eureka moments that happen as you're kind of going through the process. But it takes you actually having the thinking time to sit down, actually go through everything and like follow the rabbit trail, follow the breadcrumbs, and like actually taking the time. If your mind is all over the place and you're trying to do this, like, okay, I got 10 minutes, I'm gonna go ahead and sit down and try to do this. It's not gonna work. You gotta be conscious, you gotta be deliberate, you gotta be organized as you're going through this entire process in order to actually have those insights and those leads that you can then follow and actually have those amazing insights. Okay, so this is how the market research and the step-by-step looks like for this. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and cut back over to the main training. All right, welcome back from that quick mini training about organizing where the market hangs out. That's going to be also very important, but the question is, why is that also very important? Okay, so just like we did, real quick, I'm just going ahead. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because we already explained it in depth from like a gazillion different angles, and we already beat the dead horse unicorn. So just in the same way that we went ahead and organized the successful players in the marketplace, we want to also organize, hey, what is the actual market saying? So you can see here in the middle, right, this is the market, right? They're not necessarily at any of the successful players, right? Because the first thing that we did is we looked at, hey, what are the successful players saying to the market, right? There has to be something that they're saying, and that's the reason why they're successful. But we don't only want to base kind of our hypothesis on that all the time, because there might be something that we might have like, hey, once we actually listen to the people are saying that they actually want something else. And so even though these people are being successful, yes, that is one data point that we're looking at, but also, hey, what is the market themselves directly saying, right? And so again, what we're doing here is we're combining market success, and market success is, yes, what is successful in the marketplace with the other players, but also market success is, hey, what is the market actually saying? So again, we don't want to close our shops, close our doors, close our windows, and try to come up with something that is completely unique, because marketing doesn't happen in a vacuum, right? What you are not actually selling yourself, right? It's not about what you think, it's what the market thinks. And we don't only want to rely on the market in order to be successful, because then we might end up copying other players in the marketplace and not coming up with something that is a little bit our own authenticity there, right? So we want a hybrid between the two. Now, I do want to go ahead and as we kind of close out this training section, I do want to talk to you about what the end result is going to look like, as well as address some of the fears, concerns, and beliefs around this. Okay, so is this a lot of work? Yep. Welcome to the reason why 99% of the people in the marketplace do not achieve success, because of the fact that they don't put in the dang work, okay? And so we're going to address this specific kind of belief around this being a lot of work in just a second. But here's the biggest thing that you need to know right now, okay? Is that if you show up and you say, hey, yeah, here's a random document with a bunch of links, and that is my marketplace swipe file, that is my market research, well, I'm telling you right now, you are going to struggle in your online coaching practice, okay? Because this tool that we have gone ahead and kind of walked you through in multiple different ways is the tool that you are going to be using in multiple areas of your business. And so you absolutely need to make sure that you are spending time to do this properly, okay? Now, some students after hearing that might say, okay, Coach Yasin, so what you're saying is that I should get overwhelmed and spend the next 12 months only working on this, right? Facepalm, double facepalm. No, that's not what we said, okay? What you want to understand is that you want to kind of have a winner's mindset around being able to do this. How do the winners do it? They are extremely methodical and organized in the way that they actually do this entire operation, okay? And so the winners understand that this is not about the right or the wrong. And so sometimes sometimes we get, students on the coaching calls who say, hey, what's the right way to do it? Like, can I see exactly how it's supposed to be done, right? Supposed to be done or should be done, right? All of those are words of expectation, okay? We want to get rid of those things, okay? Because here's the thing, the right or wrong way, that is an employee mindset thinking that school has trained students to be afraid of failure. So it's like, hey, I got to get the A plus, or I got to get the B, or I got to go to, what is the right way to do it, right? But here's the thing, there is no right or wrong way, especially when it comes to real life, and especially when it comes to business. There's just the lazy output and there is the winner output, okay? So the goal of this end result is that if somebody says, hey, show me your marketplace swipe file, that you have something that you have put time into to actually organize, okay? Whatever that might be, okay? Whatever it might be, you have to have spent time organizing it and putting it together. And trust me, it is absolutely clear, night and day difference, clear and obvious when somebody has actually spent time on something and when they haven't. If somebody comes up and says, hey, here is my random, I don't know, like Google document, or here is my random, Apple Notes file, or here's my random, I don't know, like, Microsoft Word document or PowerPoint document, and it's just a bunch of random links. Well, the question is like, how long did it take you to put that together? Like 5 minutes? And so that's why it's so obvious when somebody has or hasn't actually spent time on this, okay? And so now here's the thing about this. When you are more organized, structured, disciplined, and systematic in your research and your marketplace swipe file, the better results that you are going to have. And so learning to be organized, disciplined, and structured is so important. Now, some people might have some identity statements as, hey, well, you know what? I'm not organized, structured, or systematic. Well, guess what? Results and the results that you have in life are a result, no pun intended there, of your skill plus your identity. Your skill is made up of knowledge times reps. Your identity is made up of your beliefs times your character traits. And so if you are not yet the person who is systematic, who is disciplined, who is organized, well, guess what? No problem. Don't be afraid. That is just your version 1.0 self. That's your current situation that has been created by your version 1.0 self. And you can evolve using the becoming process that you've already learned, that you've actually been certified in, to be able to actually become your version 2.0 self. And so if you want the results and life that you desire, then you're going to have to work on becoming your version 2.0 self. Because just remember, your current version of yourself is responsible for creating your current reality. And of course, we have all of these amazing quotes that we've talked about so many times in the past. If you always do what you've always done, you will always get what you've always gotten. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. And so if you haven't been somebody who is organized and systematic, or has the tech skills, or is good with organizing things on tech skills, if you learned one way to do things, you can learn another way to do things. And if you do that, you will get a different outcome, because guess what? You are doing something differently, right? Now, for those students who say, hey, this is overwhelming, this is too much work, I would urge you to take a deep breath, take a second, right? Use the Yasin glue, stick with me, right? You're doing great, okay? And so the goal of this isn't to go ahead and like literally spend the next 50 years trying to put all of this together. Now, if you can go ahead and have a very extensive document that doesn't get you overwhelmed, it doesn't take you forever, more power to you. There are going to be some students that have the skills and the identity to be able to pull that off. But for those students who are feeling like, man, this is just really, really overwhelming, you want to remember what is the number one priority for those who are beginners and newbies. It's to get into momentum and take massive action. And so you want to keep moving. Now, I did not say that you want to skip this, but you want to take the advice that I'm giving you and what we are giving you into context, is that we can't have you going limbic on us, right? We can't have you going blue screen of death on us. And so what you want to do is you want to do the best job possible based off of your current identity, based off your work capacity, based off your thinking capacity, and you want to keep in momentum. And then as you increase your thinking capacity, as you increase your work capacity, as you increase your skills, and you go from being your version 1.0 self to 1.5 self, 1.7, and then 2.0 version of yourself, then you will be able to go ahead and advance this more and more and more. This is not going to be a one-time project of going ahead and putting your marketplace swipe file together. You're going to make it a habit to be doing this on an ongoing basis. This is so absolutely critical. You want to make it a habit. As you are out there in life, right? You're going through social media, you're looking around, you're learning different things, you're hearing from different people. As you find other people in your marketplace, or sometimes even people who are not in your marketplace but are inspirational. Think about it like an inspo board, right? People like who make those interior designs, right? They're like, hey, I have an inspo board. This is what your marketplace swipe file is. It's kind of like your inspo board around marketing and sales and business, and kind of looking at what is the strategy overall. And so this is not going to happen in a one-time project. It's going to be a one-time big push to get the foundations in place, but then it is going to be all about the iteration cycle. You start off with a hypothesis. The hypothesis is going to go ahead and meet real world. It's going to have the next version from there. And then you got version 2. And then you do the same exact process in version 3 and version 4 and version 5 and version 6. And so you just remember that all big and great things started off small and scrappy. And so how silly would it be for a baby that's just learning how to crawl and is struggling with walking, and it starts to compare itself with a 5-year-old who's out there doing completely different things and running around outside, right? It would be silly. And so the baby who's like, yo, maybe walking just isn't for me because this is tough for me, or this is too overwhelming for me. No, that would be silly. And so in the exact same way, you want to be able to walk yourself off of that ledge if you are feeling overwhelmed by any of this, okay? And so that is this entire training section around the step-by-step tutorial around the marketplace swipe file. I know it was pretty dense. It was really tactical. It was really technical. But again, we did address a lot of those limiting beliefs. We did address a lot of those thoughts that some students might have around this. And then if you do have any questions about anything that we discussed inside of this training section, please make sure that you do go ahead and use the comment section down below with the hashtag of this specific training section, so that way we can go ahead and get any of your questions addressed. But with that being said, this has been this section. I will catch you inside of the next section. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Let's go ahead and keep the momentum going. Step number 3, which is about studying the marketplace, which is now the people research. Okay, so now that we have a brain dump hypothesis and we've gone ahead and put together our marketplace swipe file, right? We've now gone ahead and see who are the other players, the other competitors in the marketplace. Now what we can do is we can do another iteration of this entire cycle of really going ahead and proving out our hypothesis. What we're going to do is we're now actually going to use the swipe file that we just created, right? So in the previous step, what we did is we created our hypothesis. And then when we created our hypothesis, we then created a swipe file based off of that hypothesis, right? Now, in general, you can also use a swipe file if you ever find like good marketing, regardless of if they're in your market or not, right? So a swipe file has more than just the use case that we're talking about right now, right? So you can use a swipe file really for more than just marketplace research, but in our case, we're using it for marketplace research, right? So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to go ahead and utilize this asset that we've created, okay? And again, the reason why this is important, we've talked about this, is that if you don't actually look at what is happening in the marketplace, you're going to try to come up with some genius idea in your head, when in reality, you're just coming up with theoretical, abstract things. The best way to know what is happening in the market is to actually just look at the market. And how you do that is by getting out of your store, right? Imagine a physical example here, getting out of your store and walking up and down, looking at the competitors, looking at the other store owners, looking at the people in the store, looking at, hey, who are the people in the market, right? Who are the people that are actually purchasing stuff? Who are the people that are just the window shoppers? You got to look through the market in order to understand how this is actually going to work. Okay. Now, having said that, how do you actually now study the marketplace, right? How are we going to now actually utilize it? So the very first step that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and open up the marketplace swipe file that we have, right? Now, of course, inside of your marketplace swipe file, you should have at least 5, ideally 10 plus, if you follow the instructions, hopefully maybe even 20 plus of competitors that are in the same or similar market as you. Now, again, we did talk about this a long time ago when we said that the swipe file is going to be something that you need to be adding to on a regular, ongoing basis, right? This is going to be tough for you to just come up with on the spot. So you want to make sure that you're using your swipe file regularly and adding to it regularly, right? Because sometimes as you're just going through your normal day-to-day and then your friend mentions something and you're like, oh, wait a second, I didn't even know that company or that influencer exists and they have all of my perfect, customers, all of my people, okay? So you're going to open up your marketplace swipe file. You're then going to open up a new document, regardless of whether that is on ClickUp or a journal or a Google document or whatever, okay? And then what you're going to also do is you're going to open up your original brain dump hypothesis document, okay? And then what you're now going to go ahead and do is you're now going to go ahead and explore the following by looking at the marketplace, okay? What you're now going to do is you're going to dissect and extract from the marketplace the people that you have gone ahead, right? All of the influencers, all of the brands, all the other players in the marketplace, right? Look at their marketing, look at their landing pages, look at their websites, look at, who they're marketing to, look at the types of people who are inside of their groups, look at the types of people who are leaving them client testimonials. And what you want to do now is on your new document, you want to look at how are these people identifying themselves. Now, do these questions look similar? Yes, because originally this was you inside of your store, right? Imagine the physical example. This was you under the store, in your store, under your table, and you just thinking about this from your head. But guess what? Now we're not just thinking about it from our head. We're now actually looking, hey, what are the actual terms that people in the marketplace actually are using to identify themselves, right? Are they calling themselves single mothers? Or are they calling themselves independent mothers, right? You got to look at what is actually happening in the marketplace rather than making things up in your head, right? Are they calling themselves small business owners? Or are they calling themselves small entrepreneurs, right? These small nuances matter because if you don't address the people that you're targeting with the way that they're calling themselves, then you're not going to be able to resonate with them, right? What are their actual age ranges? What are they actually doing for a living, right? How many kids do they actually have? Did they mention anything like that, right? And so all of the same questions that you were going through earlier when it was just in your head theoretically, that was just to get a hypothesis. But now that we have our swipe file, now that we have an idea of what's happening in the marketplace, we're going to go ahead and look at what's actually happening in the marketplace, right? We're going to look at what are the actual demographics? What are the actual psychographics, okay? And so some of the questions you want to ask yourself are, hey, this group of people, right? Now that you have this hypothesis and now that you have this marketplace, what are some of the values of these people? What do they do for fun and enjoyment? What are the hobbies and interests that they have? What are some of the fears and worries that they have? And we're going to touch more on this when we talk about pain and paradise and stuff. But right now, you're just kind of compiling this, right? What are some of the other programs that they're purchasing? What are they interested in learning about, right? Where are they congregating, right? What TV shows are they watching, right? Who are they following, right? Do they follow somebody especially on social media? Maybe they mentioned somebody inside of the customer testimonial, right? Maybe all of that, right? Are they actively seeking advice for a solution to this problem, right? What are some of the go-to resources that they mentioned on this topic? Now, again, this is just a dump of just general questions that you can ask yourself. They're just prompts, okay? But what you're doing here is what you're dissecting is you're looking at, hey, who are these actual people and these actual customers that are inside of these actual groups? What are they actually purchasing? How do they actually identify themselves, right? And so remember, you want to look through all of those links that you saved to all of the other market players that are inside of the marketplace, right? Look through their customer testimonials, their websites, their landing pages, their ad libraries, their email lists, right? You want to go through as many of those people that are collecting the people that you want to be able to work through, and you want to combine this with all of the other stuff that we worked on, okay? And you want to go through this and really start to get a very, very good idea of who these people are within these groups. So that way it's no longer theoretical, no longer is it hypothetical, no longer is it something that you're making up inside of your own head. You're actually having both the combination of your hypothesis as well as what is actually happening in the marketplace. Now, again, I'm going to go ahead and remind you, Einstein said that education is not the learning of facts, but the training of the mind to think. And so we would urge you, please do not be a remote control student who expects to follow blindly and be spoon-fed, okay? We want you to be able to think and understand the point of what it is that we are talking about here, okay? So we're going to guide you, we're going to point you in the direction, but it's going to be up to you to actually tap into your own resourcefulness to actually do the dang work. I know, hey, this is work. Well, guess what? Welcome to putting the assets together that are going to allow you to be successful. Unfortunately, so many beginner amateur students cross over that line and become failure uniform students and become limbic lalus because of the fact that they think it's all about the tactics. Like, hey, just tell me what I got to say so I can make money. Hey, just tell me what strategy I got to run. Hey, just tell me how to make a VSL. Like, yo, those are just the tactics. This is the actual stuff that sits on top of that wheelbase that is going to allow you to be successful, okay? And so you want to be putting together all of what it is that we're talking about, right? When we talk about people research, right here, if you are using ClickUp as a subpage or if you're using Google Documents or whatever, you can just go ahead and put all of that right here. And then you have all of these sections that are nice and organized as you are putting all of this work together. So this entire thing becomes an asset that is like your bag that you're able to pull from over and over and over and over again when you're doing your marketing, whenever you're trying to find, hey, how should I do my live stream? How should I do my publishing? What kind of the pain points should I be addressing? All of that is in one place and is going to be absolutely an asset that you're going to be able to utilize over and over and over and over again. And so that, ladies and gentlemen, is step number 3 of this entire process, which is studying the marketplace and actually doing the people research, not theoretically, not hypothetically, but now actually looking at the marketplace and looking at, hey, how do these people identify themselves and what are the type of people or who are the type of people that I actually want to be serving? Okay, now again, we're going to go ahead and close this training out. If you do have any questions about anything that we have discussed so far inside of this section, make sure you go ahead and let us know using the comment section down below. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get over to the next step right now. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, step number 4 is repeat the steps until you have your market selected. So now that you've gone through the process, right, you've come up with your hypothesis, you've created your market swipe file, which was based on the hypothesis, right? You studied the marketplace, you looked at how the market is actually identifying themselves. You now have a pretty solid understanding of the group of people that you were thinking of targeting, right, in your hypothesis. Now what you want to do is you want to ask yourself the question, hey, is this still the same group of people that I was thinking of targeting, right? How has this changed? How has this not changed now that I've looked at the marketplace, right? Remember, your goal is that, especially when you're trying to go ahead and get to consistent 100K, right? You're trying to get to that 100K income. You want to have that conveyor belt, that assembly line that you can duplicate over and over and over again of a specific group of people with a specific pain through a consistent process to get to a specific paradise. So that way you have that consistency and you can actually productize your entire business. And so yes, in an ideal world, you would want that to satisfy 4 of the indicators, right? You want to have massive pain. They want to have purchasing power. They should be easy to target, or I don't like to use the word should because should implies expectation, but they could be easy to target, as well as they could be high in quantity and growing. Now, remember, those are ideal indicators. Don't get hung up on that. We talked about a lot of big warnings around this, okay? And so the questions that you want to ask yourself are, hey, do I have the skills to be able to help this group of people? Is this a low-hanging fruit for me to be able to help this group of people? Or is it me trying to go ahead and help a group of people that maybe I could help them later in my career when I have more skills, right? And we talked about the story of kind of how we started off with NutriFit, and then we went over to Online Fit Pro, and then we eventually got to RWA, right, where we are right now. That entire journey that we went through, we started off with a lower hanging fruit, because remember, the number one priority for you as a beginner is to get into momentum so that way you can acquire the skills and develop the identity so that way you can broaden who it is that you want to work with. And so maybe the group of people that you initially thought that you wanted to help, maybe they're not the type of people that you actually have the skills to be able to help right now. Maybe down the road, you would love to be able to help with like business coaching and you just love like the business side of things. But right now, how can you do business coaching if you yourself have never actually ran a business yet, right? And so maybe down the road, you'll be able to get there, but you need to actually develop those skills in order to do that, right? The other couple questions you want to ask yourself is, hey, how healthy is the market according to the 4 ideal indicators, right? Is this a low-hanging fruit, right? Because remember, you get to pick the market. You get to choose the people. And this is why everything else that comes after this is going to come from the people that you choose and getting specific on the people that you choose, right? And so the question that you want to ask yourself is that, hey, if I am voluntarily choosing a less than ideal market, am I okay with the sacrifices that I'm going to make in order to actually go after this market, right? Am I okay in understanding that it might take me longer to develop myself, to develop the skills and identity to be able to help these group of people, and I might struggle until then? Or do I want to go after the lower hanging fruit that will allow me to just get traction and momentum? Maybe it's not the thing that I'm the most over the top excited about, but guess what? It's going to get me the momentum to understand how this online coaching kind of whole business realm works. I'm going to be able to go ahead and get to $100,000, right? And then I can go ahead and use those skills and then transfer them over to a different group of people. I can help people with different kinds of things. So that is kind of the questions that you want to be thinking about and journaling through and externally processing as you are looking to make this decision. Okay. Now, the other point I want to go ahead and talk to you about is a hack when it comes to market and people selection. Okay. One of the easiest things that we've always done is whenever you're evaluating a market that is viable or whether or not it's worth pursuing is to really look at others in the market, right? What you want to do is you want to look at and find usually at least 3 other players, right? If you have only find one other player in the marketplace who's serving that group of people, it might be a sign that hey, there's just not enough people there. But usually you want to find at least 3 other players. Ideally, if you can find 3 other big players, that's even better, right? Who are already successfully serving the people that you want to help, right? You want to be able to look at these top 3 competitors or players in the marketplace as your reference point. These are going to be kind of like the cream of the crop of your swipe file, right? These are going to be the people that you're always looking at in terms of hey, these are the people that are crushing it. I'm not going to go out there and try and reinvent the wheel. Now, remember, we're not saying you're going to copy them, but what you're going to understand is you're going to say, okay, this is what's working in the marketplace right now because these 3 other players in the marketplace are doing that. And then using my spice framework, using my unique mechanism, I'm going to go ahead and make this better, unique, different, superior, XYZ. But you want to go ahead and have that starting point. You want to have that reference point of who else is crushing it in that marketplace. If you find that, then that is a very good indicator that that is a viable market, right? And the reason why this is the case is because you don't want to be stuck being the only one who is serving that group of people. And then you end up finding out that that group of people, that market really wasn't viable. And now you spend all of this time going after a group of people who are not actually going to purchase from you. So for example, right, we gave an example in one of the earlier sections of this training where there was somebody who wanted to, help teenagers, right? They wanted to help teenagers get better grades. Well, that person realized, hey, teenagers don't have any money. They're not able to purchase, right? So what that person could have done is they could say, hey, let me look at the marketplace. Is there any other competitor or player in the marketplace that is helping teenagers get better grades? If they are, well, if they're crushing it, what are they doing, right? Who are they targeting, right? Are they targeting maybe the parents, right? We also talked earlier in the different section where there was an example of somebody who was really good at helping people who are unemployed get, fix up their resume and then get jobs. Well, what you want to do is you want to look at the marketplace and find, hey, who else is crushing it? Look at their offering, look at their product, right? If they are crushing it, then they're probably doing it in a different way that's actually making it viable, right? You wouldn't want to be the only person that is serving that marketplace. Now, beginners and newbies, when they think about this, like, well, why wouldn't I want to be the only person serving these people, right? Doesn't that mean more people for me? No, because here's the thing, and this is what I think a lot of people who are beginners and newbies don't understand, is that business is very opportunistic. What that means is that if there is an opportunity to be made, if there is an opportunity for money and profit to be made, it's pretty much guaranteed that somebody's going to figure this out like very, very quickly, and they're already going to start serving those people. Guaranteed, right? Like if there is a way to make money in some way, shape, or form, I guarantee you it's not going to be long. It's not going to be long until somebody figures this out. But guess what? That's a good thing. You don't want to be the first person who goes there and falls on their face and makes all those mistakes. Okay, there's plenty of books that talk about market and business strategy in which the first mover advantage really isn't that great because they end up making a lot more mistakes. And usually it's the person who comes second, third, fourth, fifth, right? Who came into the market and said, okay, you guys already made all these mistakes. You guys already figured out what works. I'm just going to come in and find something that's far superior and then just absolutely dominate the marketplace. Okay. And so you don't want to try and be that one Einstein individual who's now going to try to figure out how to help a group of people that nobody is serving right now, okay? So if there's nobody who is serving the group of people that you want to help right now, okay, then chances are that's probably not a good market, especially when you're starting out and you're only looking to get to like 6 figures, 7 figures, even 8 figures. You don't want to try and be the first person out there, okay? Now, maybe if you're trying to build like a, $1 billion crazy, like, I want to be like the first mover advantage. I got venture capital funding. I got millions of dollars in funding and we got to get the first mover advantage and all this kind of stuff. Then maybe you want to try and like create a market in XYZ. But if you're just trying to make $100,000, like, come on. You want to just go ahead and repeat successful actions based on what it is that you're seeing in the marketplace and then just change it. Not copy it because that's unethical. What you're doing is that you're looking at the marketplace and then you are iterating on what is already working in the marketplace. So our recommendation for you is to find a market that is as healthy as possible and make it easy for yourself, okay? Don't get romantic about it. It's all just about serving people, providing value, and then getting paid according to the value that you are providing. It's as simple as that, okay? You're looking for pockets of opportunity that already exist, okay? And then later on, when we get into the process and the SPICE framework and the unique mechanism, you're going to learn how to be able to differentiate yourself. But right now, when it comes to, right, we talk about people and we talk about paradise and we talk about pain, right? The people, you're not trying to differentiate yourself on the people. No, you're not trying to differentiate yourself on the pain, as you're going to learn. You're not trying to differentiate yourself on the paradise, okay? What you want to do is you want to make sure that you are at least as good as everyone else when it comes to the people, the pain, and the paradise, okay? Where you differentiate yourself is going to happen here on the process piece of this, okay? And this is the reason why I said, please just focus with me step by step and don't try to think ahead and don't try to like get confused and all that kind of stuff, okay? Right now, you're just identifying your market, you're identifying your people, because that way we can actually go ahead and put together a community of those people. And that's what it is that you want to go ahead and identify right now. Okay, so we've gone ahead and walked through that entire process. And so the biggest thing you want to understand is that you might end up having to repeat these steps if you find that, you know what, I found a hypothesis, I created a marketplace swipe file, and then I studied the marketplace. And when I studied the marketplace, I found that, these were not the people I really wanted to help. I thought these were the people I wanted to help, but they ended up not being the people I wanted to help. Or I realized that there was no market for what it is that I was thinking of wanting to help people with, right? Or I realized there was no market for the type of people that I wanted to help, right? And so you might end up having to repeat these processes again and these steps again and again until you find a market that is actually viable, that you actually want to help. And guess what? That's okay. It's a part of the process. You start with the hypothesis, you expose that hypothesis to the real world, and you go through that over and over and over again. However, you do not want to get stuck with this, because remember, the number one priority for a beginner, for a newbie, is momentum. Getting that car moving, right? Because it's impossible to actually steer a parked car. And if needed, we might actually end up making another training where there's a very famous concept for those beginners and those newbies who actually end up called niche hopping. Niche hopping is when you can't pick a niche and you just keep on niche hopping. You say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to help these people, I'm going to help these people, I'm going to help these people. Well, if you are niche hopping, there is a term for those kinds of people that they got to get niche slapped, okay? Niche slapped is for those people who niche hop. And so if we got to make that training for those students who are out there niche hopping, I'm going to make sure that we make that training. And if you need that training, or if you find that training is going to be valuable for you, go ahead and let us know. But remember, just put out a hypothesis, do the real world work needed to validate with the market, and then keep on pushing through, period. End of story. Do not overcomplicate this. Okay. So if you have any questions about anything that we discussed, make sure you go ahead and let us know in the comment section down below and ask it inside of the student community. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is step number 4, which is the final step of this process of picking your people, picking your market, which is repeating these steps until you have actually selected your market. So with that being said, I will catch you inside of the next section. All right, let's go ahead and talk about your action steps for the people training. The very first action step is going to be for you to go ahead and make sure that you watch and study all of these sections inside of the people training. So just a quick reminder for you, okay, we have the main training titles, okay, that's kind of like the main collapsible thing, right? So it'll be like, hey, people. And then underneath that, we have all of the training sections. So you want to make sure that you've gone ahead and gone through all of the training sections without skipping around. That's very important, okay? Action step number 2 is to make sure that you go ahead and complete creating your people hypothesis. Okay, that was kind of step number 1 training that we talked about in one of the sections. Make sure you follow the steps that are inside of that training and follow all of those instructions so you can go ahead and complete that. Okay, action step number 3 is for you to go ahead and complete creating your marketplace swipe file. I cannot tell you how valuable this is going to be pretty much throughout your entire career. And so you want to make sure you go ahead and follow the instructions inside of that specific training section to make sure you go ahead and complete that. Okay. Action step number 4 is going to be go ahead and complete your people research using the marketplace swipe file. So you're going to use whatever you create here. You're going to use that over here, and make sure you go ahead and use all of the prompts, as well as think outside the box for your own questions and prompts that is located inside of that specific training. Okay. Action step number 5 is that you're going to go ahead and pick your people, or you might end up having to repeat the other steps in order to go ahead and do that. Again, we talk about all of these steps extensively inside of each individual training. So if you're just skipping around, make sure you actually go back and look at all of those steps, because we give it step by step by step by step in there. Okay. After all of that, what you're then going to do is you're going to go ahead and complete your people worksheet. Okay. Now your people worksheet is something that is completely separate. It's not in any of these section trainings. Okay. And so what we're going to do is we're actually going to go ahead and cut over to a quick mini training to explain to you what the people worksheet. So let's go ahead and do that right now. All right, welcome to this quick mini training about the people worksheet. So the people worksheet is really just kind of a one-pager, right? It's kind of what we call a summarization of all of the work that you've been doing right now. Does this have to be the exact same prompts and the exact same template? No. You can use this as an example, and then you can go ahead and make your own if you would like as well. But the biggest thing on here is, like, at the top, you want to be extremely clear. Hey, I help. Boom. That's it, right? And then underneath that, what are all the identities that you have found from your research in terms of how they identify themselves, okay? And then after that, it's very simple. Hey, what are all of their demographics? Demographics are things that are like, hey, what are their age, their income range, their occupation? Do they have kids? Do they have any dogs? Like, all of those things are more of like demographics. And then psychographics are more of like the psychology behind it. Like, what do they like to spend their money on? What are their interests? What are their hobbies, right? What are the things that they are like, what do they like to do in general? So those are all psychographics. Again, nothing special here, nothing magical here, okay? It's just kind of like a container for you to be able to go ahead and summarize on a one-pager. One-pager is what we call it. It's a one-pager, or as close to as a one-pager as possible, so that way it's very easy for you to be able to reference. And you want to compile this together, and for the sake of accountability, we're having you submit a one-pager, so that way it's nice and organized. Because if you remember, I don't know if that ever happened to you, but back when you're studying kind of like for a test back in school or whatever, right, you go out there and you consume all of this stuff, you've been taking notes throughout the whole semester and all of this kind of stuff, and then right before the test, test, the best thing you can do is just take out one sheet of paper, or you take out what some people like to do on a note card, right? And you just have everything that is like the condensed version of everything that you learned in order to make it extremely, extremely, extremely easy for you to be able to reference it, right? So either a note card or a one pager or whatever. And so all you're doing is you're summarizing as much as possible. And the reason why it's a restriction of like, hey, a note card or a one pager is because it forces you to prioritize the things that are actually important, right? Because once it's actually, hey, it can only be on one page, it can only be on one note card. And so that way, once you submit it, it's like, hey, boom, this is the snapshot. This is the thing that I've decided. This is the fruit. This is the gold of all of that labor that I've summarized, and condensed over and over and over and over again. And so it's harder to make things simple. It's very easy to just have pages and pages and pages and pages of paragraphs because you're not very concise in what it is that you're thinking. But remember, we talked about this. When you're concise in your writing and you're concise in your speaking, right? You're very clean in your writing and in your speaking. That means that you're very clean in your thinking as well. And I don't mean that in a perverted sense. What we mean clean here is that you're extremely, extremely deliberate and conscious in the way that you are thinking. Okay, so that is a people worksheet. That is going to be how you go ahead and submit that, whether that be here or whether that be any other tool as well. So with that being said, let's go ahead and hop back over to the action steps. All right, welcome back from that quick mini training. Now, a couple things on here. You do not have to use that exact document or worksheet. Okay, you can go ahead and utilize whatever platform, whatever tool, whatever kind of thing you want to use for your quote unquote people worksheet. Okay, it's just kind of like an example template. Okay, so it's just an example for you to be able to get started. And so those are the first 6 action steps. Okay, so it's a lot of doing the dang work and getting into the trenches and getting all of that done. Okay, now once you actually complete all of that, what you're going to do is you're actually going to submit all of your people work. So that way, not only can you be able to get feedback, but it also promotes the accountability. So that way we can see, hey, whether or not you're actually doing the dang work, and that way you're getting the support that you're looking for. Okay, so let's talk about how exactly you're going to be submitting your work once you complete that for your people. Okay, so how you're going to submit this is that underneath this training, right, the training that you are watching right now, okay, for the action steps, you're going to see that there is kind of like a comment box. Okay, now once you click on that comment box, what's going to happen is that there's going to be a hashtag here that's going to have the title of the training there. This hashtag is very important because what this hashtag does on that platform, on the 100K Mastermind platform, is that it allows for the system to know that every single post that has this hashtag needs to belong on this section right underneath here. And so it's going to allow everything to be organized, and it's going to also allow you to be able to see other students' work, and that way it allows everything to be nice and organized underneath this training when it comes to submitting your people work. Okay, so please make sure that you do not accidentally delete that hashtag. Okay, so if you want to go ahead, and we're going to teach you how to be able to add things above that hashtag, what you're going to do is you're just going to go ahead and put your cursor here on the left side of the hashtag, right, all the way on the left side of the hashtag, and then you can just hit enter on your keyboard, and what's going to happen is that hashtag is going to slowly start to go down on the list, so that way you have some space above the hashtag to actually go ahead and put all of the submission that we're going to walk you through in just a second. Okay, so really important, so that way you understand how to be able to submit your submission on here. Okay, now the other thing, the title for your submission is going to be people submission. Okay, so that way you can go ahead and have that on there, and then this is what your submission is going to look like. All right, this is just an example of what it's going to look like, but I want to show you this. Okay, it's divided into 2, and so this box right here is an example of what it is going to look like inside of right over here. Okay, so I hope you're following along with me right now. Okay, so this submission is going to be broken up into 2 parts. Okay, there's the first part, and then there is the second part. The first part is for questions, or if you're struggling with anything that as you are doing the work, okay, something that you specifically struggled with, if that is applicable for you, that is going to come up over here. Now, we're going to talk to you about how to be able to ask for help in an empowered way, but it's going to be like, hey, my RWA family, hey, fellow, students, whatever it might be, I am struggling with the potential solutions that I have already thought about are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever, right? Out of these X number of solutions, which of these solutions do you think is best? This is called empowered asking. I'm going to talk to you more about that in just a second, but that is going to be the first part. The second part, you can go ahead and put some dashes over here if you'd like, just like we have over there, okay? The second part is going to be where you go ahead and say, hey, here is the link to my completed worksheet. right over here. Okay, you're going to have the link hyperlink there. My people in the market that I'm going to serve are going to be, or is going to be, whatever it might be over here. Okay, and this is going to allow it to be easy to be able to search as well. So that way, when you or other students search, you can go ahead and find other students that are in the similar market, and you guys are able to go ahead and collaborate together. So that's very important. You want to have that inside of your submission. You're also going to go ahead and let everybody know, hey, I did complete my marketplace swipe file, and I used it to be able to pick my people, right? I picked my market, and then what I learned from this activity, right? What I learned from doing all of this, right? From doing my swipe file and all this kind of stuff was da 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 da. And then obviously that is the training hashtag that we talked about earlier that you're just going to be having at the bottom there when you hit enter, 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 enter. Okay. Now, a couple points on this is that if you do not have any questions, okay, if you don't have any struggle or anything like that, then you do not have to put this top part. Okay, you can just put, hey, RWA family, here's my, people submission. I don't have any questions or struggles at this time. Here's my completed worksheet, da 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 da. Okay, and so if you don't have any questions, you do not have to put that top part. Okay, the reason why we went ahead and put the questions at the top part of this was because if we had put this part first, then your questions would have gotten lost at the bottom, and then that would not have been good, okay? And then it wouldn't have been easy for everybody else to answer your questions, okay? Next up, submitting the worksheet link, right? This link right here, if you're using Google Docs, you can go ahead and submit that link. If you're using a different platform, you can go ahead and share a link on that as well. Let's say, for example, you're using ClickUp or something like that. You can just create a share link, and then that way you can go ahead and put that over there if you would like, if that is applicable. If you're not doing that, go ahead and let us know, hey, my people worksheet, da 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 da. Maybe you did it by hand or whatever, which might be difficult. You might have done it by hand. If you did do it by hand, you can go ahead and take a picture and then upload the picture on there as well. Okay, so that is what the submission is going to look like. Now, I want to go ahead and give you a very, 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 very important reminder. You need to learn how to become organized, conscious, and deliberate in your writing, okay? Because guess what? You're a professional RWP coach. And so when your clients reach out to you for client support, for customer support, whatever, right? And whenever you hear, like, let's say, for example, Jane or anybody in our student support department, when they're conversating with you, are they giving you a massive text block, which is just paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs, and it's all unorganized? No, they're very organized. Like, hey, okay, cool. So I understand that your questions are 1, 2, 3. Is that right? Yes. Okay, cool. And then it's separated. There is an enter key on your keyboard that allows you to be able to separate all the things on there. And so you want to make sure that you are communicating properly and deliberately, and you want to make sure that your writing is not all over the place, okay? Because here's the thing. If you are organized in writing and talking, you're going to be organized in your thinking and vice versa. So we can tell who are those students who are all unorganized in their minds because it shows in the way that they speak and the way that they actually type and they write. And so how you do one thing is how you do everything. And so this is why I would urge you, if you don't yet have the identity of being someone who is organized, conscious, and deliberate, especially in the writing, but really as a character trait in all of life, this is just an example, right? You have your title. Okay, look, you have a title, nice and organized. This is right here, look, and then enter, enter, enter. I got a new line. I got spacing between the lines. Wow, look at that. Look, these are the potential solutions that I have come up with. Look, 1, all nice and organized. 2, all nice and organized. 3, all nice and organized. It's not one massive paragraph. Unfortunately, it's crazy. We get some students who email into student support and they're just sending us like a massive paragraph. And then all of a sudden it makes it difficult for the person that's reading it. They got to come in with like a Morse code, decoder or something, and like literally pull out because you were too lazy to go in. This is what we call lazy writing versus empowered writing. You got to be able to make it easy for people to be able to help you, okay? And so when you are doing empowered writing, you are doing the work ahead of time to be able to actually take out, hey, let me think about this for a second. Let me slow down. Let me not be a speed demon. Let me not be Jackie Chan mode here. And let me think about, hey, 1, 2, 3, right? Out of these 3 solutions, which one do you guys think would be best? This is empowered asking. You're going to learn more about that here in just a second, okay? And then again, here, completed my, very nice. Look, there's spacing over here, okay? My people, whatever, are going to be da-da-da-da-da-da, right? This is just an example. But again, spacing over here, spacing over here. You'll see all of it is extremely organized. It's nice to read. It's easy to read. This is how you want to make sure that you are doing your submissions, okay? Very, 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 very important. Now, a couple other pro tips when it comes to technology, okay? I would urge you to go ahead and utilize hyperlinks. For those of you who don't know what a hyperlink is, it's basically like a link. When you click on it, it opens up. The reason why is because, let's say, for example, you're sharing a Google document, right? A Google document might have a massive link. That might end up, if you just end up copying and pasting it, it might have a massive kind of take half the post in just the link. And so I would urge you, whenever possible, use a hyperlink. Sometimes it doesn't make sense to use a hyperlink, right? When it's a quick thing, like, hey, you're just sending over a Loom video or you're just sending over something really quickly, sometimes it doesn't make sense to. But in this submission, You want to make it nice and organized so that way it's easy for people to be able to go ahead and read it. How do you do that? What you're going to do is step number one, you're going to go ahead and with your mouse, you're going to just go ahead and highlight the text that you want hyperlinked. Okay, all you do is just drag it, right? You highlight it, and then you go ahead and click on the hyperlink button at the bottom, okay? And then this dialog box is going to pop up, and you put the link in there, right? You paste the link in there that you want to get hyperlinked, and then you go ahead and click on link. Once you actually click on link, what's going to happen is this dialog box is going to disappear, and you're going to notice that the word that you actually hyperlinked is going to be hyperlinked. It's going to be a link that when you click on it, it's actually going to take you over to the link. That's pro tip number one. Pro tip number two is that if you are sharing Google documents, we don't want this to be a chaotic mess in which you haven't actually done the permissions. And so what you want to do is step number one, in your Google document, you want to click on share, and then you want to be able to allow anybody with a link to be able to look at that document. The reason why is because I cannot tell you how many times students have shared links with us, and then all of a sudden it's restricted, right? You want to change the option from restricted to anyone with a link, okay? We click on the link, it's restricted, and then now all of a sudden we have to wait for it to, have permission, and we had like 10 minutes to answer the question. At that time, we might not have time to answer the question later on, or even other students, because you're going to learn in just a second that, hey, it's not just the coaches that are looking to help you out. It's going to be other members who are even smarter than the coaches who are inside of the community who can help you out. But if the document is restricted, nobody can see it, and then it wastes time that way. So make sure that you actually go ahead and change the Google link permission so that way that is taken care of as well, okay? And then as we close out here, I want to just go ahead and really do some quick reminders on here, okay? How to be able to learn inside of a community. 3 points. Number one, how to ask for feedback. Number two, this is a community, not gurus, okay? So when you ask, you got to make sure you understand this. And number three, it's a two-way street. When you ask one, you give one. Let's go ahead and talk about this right now. Number one, how to ask for feedback. The difference between lazy asking versus empowered asking. When you do your submission, okay, this is very important. You do not want to say, hey guys, here's my submission. Let me know your feedback, or let me know your thoughts, or let me know your comments. That is what we call lazy asking. And the reason why we as human beings do it is because the limbic mind does not want to expend energy. And so it just asks blanket, hey, general, this is, hey, what are your feedback and your thoughts? Do not do this. Instead, you want to do empowered asking. Empowered asking is where you actually sit down, step back, right? Take a second, just a second, right? We're not being speed demon Jackie Chan mode here. We're taking a second and we're just thinking, hey, I am struggling with this. The potential solutions that I have come up with are 1, 2, 3. And remember, we talked about 1, 2, 3, numbering it properly, right? Out of these three, does anybody, which one do you guys think out of these three? And so what you're doing is you're making it easier for people to be able to help you and then be able to ask better questions, because when you ask better questions, you get better answers instead of just getting a general like, yeah, that's pretty good. Well, hey, when you just ask, like, can you get your feedback? Okay, yeah, I think it should be good. It's not beneficial for you and it just wastes everybody's time. And so you want to force your mind to be able to think of, hey, what are the specific questions that you want the mastermind's help with? You want to show that you're being resourceful to be able to think ahead of time of exactly what you want help with. And guess what? If you don't have any questions, if you're not struggling with anything, it's okay. All you got to say is, hey, I'm just sharing. I don't have any questions or struggles. Thank you very much. Instead of asking for, hey, general, what's your feedback? General, what's your thoughts? General, what's your comments? That just wastes everybody's time because it is quite difficult for somebody else to be able to provide you some feedback that way, okay? So please do not do that. Don't be lazy asking. Make sure that you are doing empowered asking. That is important point number one, okay? Let's go ahead and talk about important point number two, which is this is a community, not a guru on the mountain, okay? So when you do ask, right? The first one we talked about is when you ask, make sure you do empowered asking, okay? And then also when you're asking, okay? You are not asking the coaches and you are not asking, there's no gurus on the mountain here, okay? We are a collaborative community, okay? And so it's all about this, not this, okay? And so when you're asking for questions, right, you're asking for feedback, you're doing it via the empowered method that you just learned, okay? What you're doing is you're not looking for some sort of validation from the coaches, okay? The coaches are not gurus who always have all the answers. All they're doing is they're providing you their 2 cents based on their experience. But what you do is when you ask the question, you want to leave it for everybody to be able to answer the question, okay? Because if you specifically ask only the coaches, then everybody else is going to be like, okay, well, they only asked the coaches. I don't need to go in and respond, right? Versus if you say, hey, everybody, hey, I'm looking for anybody and everybody's thoughts on this question. These are the 3 things that I've thought about ahead of time. Remember, empowered asking. Which of these 3 do you guys, not just the coaches, but everybody, okay? This is a collaborative community with really smart members who many times are able to provide just as much, if not more insight than the coaches. And so when asking questions, feedback, thoughts, or comments, right? Speak to the community, ask the community, frame your questions so anyone can answer, and you're going to get more responses that way from both the coaches and the others, and you get more feedback that way. The power power, I want you to remember this, is in the community. It's not about, oh, there's a guru and all. No, I'm telling you, you're going to learn 100,000% more. It's not only about the coaches, it's about the community and what we are able to provide and give to each other as a community. And that gives us to point number 3, which is on here, is that two-way street. Ask one, give one, okay? And so if you are going to be asking in an empowered way, and you're going to be asking the community, right? Imagine like this community is like the valuable asset. It's like the oracle, right? The oracle, the power is in the community. You just go to the community and say, hey, I want to ask the community. Well, guess what? When you want to ask the community, you got to also give to the community. And so in the same way that if you are struggling with something, let's say, for example, with your people worksheet, whenever you notice somebody else is struggling with their people, you want to go in and comment and just give your 2 cents. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm smarter than everybody else. I know the answer. No, just go in and say, hey, this is my take. This is my 2 cents. And just contribute. Just go ahead and comment on there. Give somebody else some other insight so that way they can see. So go in, and every time that you are commenting, just go in and contribute. It's going to be so valuable, not only for you, but for everybody else. Remember, this is a community. That's what we're fostering here. We're fostering a community. We're not fostering, hey, like you only come on here to be able to take. Because guess what's going to happen? If everybody just ends up taking, then and nobody's giving, then all of a sudden the value of the community is no longer there, okay? And so I'm telling you right now, you will get what you want out of life when you help more people get what they want out of life, okay? And so that is what we call abundance mindset, is when you give without the expectation of reciprocity. And I'm telling you right now, when you give, people are going to feel indebted, so they're going to want to help you as well. And so this is how it works. This is how we make it a two-way street, so that way this can be a community that is valuable for everyone. So if you ask one time, you will have to make the agreement that you will also be giving one time on somebody else's post at some later time, right? So you're kind of passing it on forward, okay? So those are 3 major points I wanted to talk to you about, and why it is so important to understand what it is that we are talking about here, so that we can foster that community culture is what we are talking about when we talk about all of this, okay? So that is the action steps when it comes to the people training. Go out there, get those submissions done, get those action steps done, go out there and rock it, and I will catch you inside of the next training.